Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good people of the algorithm, how are you doing? I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you are celebrating or about to celebrate Father's Day. So, shout out to all the fathers in the world. You are important. You are valuable. You are special to your family, your immediate family, your co-workers, society. All right. Happy Father's Day. I'm sorry I haven't been back often. Still trying to find out how to juggle this new schedule. But luckily, with this new schedule, I get days that I normally didn't used to get off before, like today. So this is why I'm actually here to show you 3 cases. But before we even start, right? And shout out to Miss Jalen for being number one. How are you, darling? How are you? It's good to see you. Hope you're having a great weekend. I just want to say I know there's a lot of stuff that's going on, right? All over the world, especially here in the US. And one thing I want to say is not necessarily, in general about these hot topics, because I'm not going to necessarily cover them on this channel, but just in general, right? Do not be pawns for other people's agendas, okay? I'm just going to state that as a general thing. Do not be pawns for other people's agenda, all right? This is the time where you have to really be sitting back, paying attention, close attention, and put in your resources, your energy, your time, your love, and everything in things that's going to actually give you the benefits that you want. Do not play a pawn out here, all right? When I was a kid and I used to play chess, my chess coach, who was a master chess player back in the day, in the library that I used to go to, he told me that everybody believes that the most powerful piece on a chessboard is the queen. And he said that they are wrong, right? The most powerful piece on the board is the pawn, right? Not the queen. Yes, the queen can move any different way, any different angle, right? But it's the pawn that is the most powerful, because usually the pawn comes with numbers, and usually most people are not focusing on the pawn. The queen, the king, they have to have some form of vulnerability to be in a leadership role. They're out there in the open, they're exposed, they're figureheads. Whereas the pawn can move without anybody noticing them. So just take that in mind, okay? Don't be out here being no pawn for people's agendas and not your own. And shout out to Moa. How are you? How are you? I hope you're having a great weekend. How are you? Young Riaz, how you doing, little bro? I hope everything is well with you. Hope everything's well. Michelle, 69, you finally caught me. How are you? I hope you're having a great weekend, dear. I hope you're having a great weekend. Brandon, how are you? It's good to see you. I hope you're having a great weekend, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers that end up being in the chat. Okay? You are appreciated. So, guys, let's see. Well, hi Gerard, how you doing? I'm sorry that you didn't understand anything that I said, but good to see you and happy Father's Day. Okay, so I do have 3 new cases for you guys today. Make sure you're just hitting the like button for me. I truly appreciate it. It helps the channel, keeps me in the algorithm, especially with this new schedule that I have. And if you know anyone who's interested in these review of these cases, you can go ahead and share them out. I would truly appreciate it, okay? So the first one that I have for you is about a killer duo. They think that they got away with murder. I think there was a service member that was involved in this. So we're going to take a look at this. This is my first time reviewing it. So let me go ahead and pull up my screen. Let's see. Hi, Big. How are you? Happy Father's Day. If you are a father, not saying that you are, but thank you. How are you doing? All right, let's go ahead and pull this up. And here we go.
These are one of the bodies that were dug up from the remains of the house.
That's actually Becky right there.
This is Becky, and these were her parents.
This is Kristen Smith, a soldier who has just been shown the remains of his 3 victims. But very soon, detectives will discover that he isn't the only killer.
Am I a suspect? Would you consider me a suspect in the murder?
Yes.
And no matter how much this killer duo conspires,
I told him nothing.
Talk about this later.
they will realize that their plan to hide an evil murder plot has gone up in flames.
If you had anything to do with what happened to her, you need to tell me right now.
Okay. Well, I didn't.
There are still 2 people in the circle that we have not been able to remove. You're one of them, and so is Robert Pap.
On September 17th, 2006, residents in the remote town of Pinyon Pines, California were alarmed to see smoke billowing from the home of the Friedleys. What they believed to be an electrical fire or the beginning of a wildfire unfolded into something much, much more sinister. When police and firefighters arrived on the scene, they found that there was no one to rescue inside the home, because laying on the floor of the living room, 53-year-old Vicky Friedley and her partner, 55-year-old John Hayward, were discovered with bullet wounds. Vicky had been shot in the head, and John, who was a former police officer, had been shot in the chest. Then the home had been doused in an accelerant and set ablaze. In the backyard, things proved to be even more disturbing. A wheelbarrow was engulfed in a ball of fire. Inside, police discovered the charred remains of 18-year-old Rebecca Becky Friedley.
Hello, Joseph.
Becky was just embarking on her journey into a bright adulthood, and in an instant, it was snatched away from her. Police had arson and a triple homicide on their hands. Fortunately, it didn't take long before the road to justice led them to 2 suspects, Rebecca's ex-boyfriend Robert Pap and his friend Kristen Smith.
Hey, Robert.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Well, I just don't know what's going on. No one tell me if I'm under arrest or what the deal is.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to kind of explain everything that's going on, so you're kind of well aware. You doing all right now? You don't have no physical injuries?
Oh, no, sir.
So I'm going to let this play, but I just wanted to just touch a base on a few things that I'm just learning, right? So this lady was married to a retired police officer. Apparently the suspects that they are now interviewing is one is her ex-boyfriend and the other one is a military member. Now I'm just trying to figure out, outside of the obvious, if you think that this is something that had to do with a relationship that went bad, or whether a money transaction went wrong. What else do you possibly believe would make them unalive these two individuals the way that they did, and then try to make it seem like it was a fire? So I think they was trying to get rid of their body as evidence to let them know that they died from bullet wounds. But what do you think? Hi, Pamela. How are you? Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Yes, it is a true crime. I hope you enjoy. So let's go on. Let's see what else they have to say in this interrogation.
Anyone mistreat you? Make you any promises, threats, or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. You know who I am?
Are you Leclerc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Detective Leclerc?
Yes, sir.
You remember who I am?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any idea what's going on today?
Well, it obviously has to do with the Friedleys, Rebecca and her mom and her stepdad.
Okay. You on probation right now for anything?
Yes, sir.
What are you on probation for?
It was petty theft.
Okay. And that's all taken care of?
Yes, I just finished my community service for it.
Okay. Obviously we're here because I've been investigating this murder for some time. Some information came to light. I've taken some information to a judge. He reviewed the facts. He kind of agreed with my assessment. Obviously, we had the search warrant for your home. I have a search warrant to collect your DNA. Is that all right with you?
That's fine. Just a blood sample or?
No, it's something easier than that. It's just like a saliva sample. You know, you just take a Q-tip in your mouth and collect a saliva sample from your cheek.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm sure you probably have some questions.
That's something I'd volunteer. Obviously,
Okay.
there's a little more reason for the search warrant, me being detained and everything.
Okay.
Well, and am I under arrest or,
Well, you're not free to go right now because we got a obligation to meet our requirements of our search warrant and obtain certain things. But let me, if you have something to say that could change my mind or my direction, I'm really willing to hear what you have to say. However, because you're at the police station and you've been here for several hours, I am required to read you your rights.
okay.
So I want you guys to take notice that he's not necessarily making a defensive posture. Normally we see in interrogation rooms that if someone is not going to be forthcoming, they will cross their arms, they will have their legs crossed. He's not necessarily doing this. However, if you look at his body language, he is literally holding his one wrist with one hand across his lap. And I think that is just to keep his tempo calm, right? And that he can answer the questions as calmly as possible. He doesn't want to show any nervousness or, let me clear my throat or something like that. That's what it seems like he's doing. I think that is like a technique that he's using to keep himself calm. This is probably something that he used to do when he was younger, when he was asked certain questions and he felt like he was going to get in trouble, but he wanted to come off to keep calm and that he didn't do it. That's what he's using. It's also kind of concerning to me that, he has an understanding, not so much, but he has an understanding why he's being brung in, but he doesn't seem too surprised about it, right? Especially since this is supposed to be a ex-girlfriend that you were dealing with. If this person is your ex, you don't really have that much dealings with this person anymore. This person shouldn't necessarily be in your life anymore unless you share children or estate or a business with each other, right? Like a business partner. So for him to be kind of like Yeah, I mean, I kind of get why I'm here. That's a little alarming to me. Very alarming. Hi, Gwendolyn. How are you doing? This case is about a duo killers. It seemed that they must have unalived this couple, and they burnt their house down to cover the evidence. So now we're watching their interrogation. Hey, lover, how are you doing? Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day. Joseph said, "Thank God I had a very good father. I hate to have him in your film." Joseph, I'm glad you had a good father. I'm glad that the ones who are lucky enough to have great fathers have experienced them. Absolutely. Let's go on.
So let me do that.
The detective reads Robert his rights. Though Robert was convicted of petty theft for shoplifting in 2007, that detail was ordered to be withheld from his eventual trial. Throughout the years of legal complications that we'll cover, Robert was painted as a good religious man who had never been in trouble with the law before. Personally, I'd count theft as trouble with the law, but I guess when you're comparing it to triple homicide, it's a little easy to sweep under the rug.
Obviously, you've gone through the court process before with this petty theft thing. What do you think about all this?
I mean, I just don't know what would lead you to believe that, I'm responsible for it. I understand that, speaking with me and everything, just the fact that, I was close with her and things like that. I understand that. I just don't, I don't understand what, validates, the search warrant and things like that. I don't understand.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to kind of explain some of those things.
No one said if I'm under arrest or if I'm not, or what?
Well, we're talking about Becky Freely,
Okay.
okay, and her murder.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's some of the things we're discussing. How do you feel today about talking to me about that?
In what way? Do I about that case in general, or actually talking to you?
No, how do you feel about it? Does it make you sad, make you happy? She was a friend of yours.
Well, yeah, we dated for over a year, about a year and 2 or 3 months and stuff, and yeah, we were really close. And when it first happened, it was, it was, hit kind of close, but it, it's just, over time, just like I had a uncle die about a year ago or something, and then, that was bad too, but just a little bit of time. But I guess the worst part now is just not knowing, what happened.
Okay. If you had anything to do with what happened to her, you need to tell me right now.
Okay. Well, I didn't.
Okay. Do you know for sure who did?
No.
Do you have any idea who did?
I've not the slightest idea. The only thing that, I'd spoken with her family, they talked about how her mom and her stepdad were in some kind of serious debt, and they brought up the idea of something about a loan
Hey,
shark or
Mama,
something.
how are you doing? I
I'm
hope everything is well. Happy
not, I'm not
Father's
saying
Day.
that's something I seriously believe or anything. I don't know.
Is there anyone you can eliminate from this investigation?
Well, Kristen, I suppose he was the only one who was with me during that time.
Okay.
I don't know anyone who would or who wouldn't. There wasn't. I haven't found anyone to have any motive to. I wouldn't understand why.
Well, tell me why you didn't do it.
Why I didn't? Well, aside from the fact that there's no gain for me. I was already broken up with her. It wouldn't benefit me at all. But other than that, I wouldn't kill anyone anyway.
Hey, Lord, how are you? Happy Father's Day.
Do you think you're capable of doing something like that?
Killing someone? No. Especially the things I heard. Found her in a wheelbarrow or stuff like that, and it just seems really gruesome and stuff. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Do you actually think it happened the way people say it happened?
I don't know how anything happened. All I know is that she was in the
Hey,
wheelbarrow
Turkey, good to
and two
see
other people
you.
were
I'm doing well.
in the
Happy
house.
Father's
Or
Day to
actually, I don't even
you.
know if the wheelbarrow was outside. I just assumed, but
Did you ever tell anyone, even jokingly, that you were involved?
no.
Are you willing to take a polygraph to verify your truthfulness?
Well, I mean, I just don't. I just like to know like why it is so. Like why I'm such a suspect. I'd say, you know. I mean, if we're getting into like all that, I suppose that, you know, I'd want some sort of like legal advice.
So right now he's trying to figure out what did the detectives have on him that will make him a suspect. So he's asking that question now, but if they was to let a little bit of information out to him about what they have on him that made them want to question him, he will automatically go ahead and call for legal advice. Now, I truly believe he should have went and got legal advice from the beginning, but he didn't. But now this situation, what he just did right now, is not going to help him at all, because you told him that, yeah, I dated this woman for a year and a half ago. We were close, but I've been living my own life, doing my own thing, and no, I don't know who would want to harm this woman or do what they did, you know. But you're here being questioned. Now, it has to be an understanding on whether or not was you still keeping in contact with this woman, or was you keeping in contact with her family. I'm sure that the detectives have emails or even text messages of this guy was recently involved with this woman or her family. Also, with the DNA sample, they probably have something with a fingerprint, or they was able to retrieve from the firehouse before it burned up something with DNA on it, and this is why they want his DNA sample. But truly, him just saying that statement didn't help him, because you now only want legal advice if the detective tells you that they have something on you that made them go down this path to start questioning you. Then that's when you want legal advice. You don't want, other than that, if you don't feel like they have anything, you will continue to talk to them. It's gonna pay a price. It's gonna pay a price for him moving in that way. Let's see. You can go to Red Tree Stories, Spartan Warrior. Red Tree Stories. I'm actually using their video. That's one of the video essayist channels for these type of true crimes that I like to review. I like how they break things down. So yes, Red Tree Stories. Shout out to you. Have a good day. Happy Father's Day. Obama said, I think you need to get a lawyer before you talk to yeah, you do. I always, say that you should do that. I don't know who should. Well, hi, Fat Sal. How are you doing? Veronica says, always. Yes, exactly, Veronica. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go on.
You know, some sort of advisor or something.
The main contributing factor that landed both Kristen, whose interview was not video recorded, and Robert in the interrogation room are witness statements. Specifically, several witnesses who reported that Robert, Kristen, and Becky all had plans to get together and go for a hike the night of her brutal murder. Then there's the damning evidence scattered across the scorched crime scene, but that won't come along for several more years.
What if someone had told me that they saw you driving on Highway 74 that?
So this just got very interesting real quick. So this is a real old case. So I'm under the understanding that this was a case that actually went cold for a certain amount of years. They didn't know what happened. And it wasn't only two people who lost their lives, it was actually three. So it was his ex-girlfriend and her parents, because that was their home. So now they're following up on this case 3 years later, because they have an understanding that he was supposed to link up with this said woman who lost her life the same exact day with another companion. So this is an example of one of those cold cases that actually, you get more leads, and now it's going to be cracked. That's where we're getting now.
Day.
I say they were mistaken.
Okay. Do you remember that day?
The only reason I remember as much as I do is just because I had said it so many times, before, and it, I know what I was, things I did. I don't remember times at all, really.
Okay. So with that in mind, you think you could kind of give me a recollection of that particular day?
I worked that day, and I suppose I drove home. I think so. I think I had my car at that time, and before that, I had just gotten rides with Kristen. But I suppose I drove home, and I was supposed to hang out with Kristen that day, but I hadn't gone to church because I'd worked the morning mass. The church we go to is at 10:30, and we missed that, and they don't have an evening mass. So I was going to try to go out to a mass at Sacred Heart, and as we were driving out that direction, I gave them a call and found out we'd missed it. So we went back over to Christian's, and they were playing games at some point, and then went paintballing. I don't believe we stopped anywhere. I think we were just driving, and then we ended up turning around and just going to his house.
Okay. So tell me specifically what happened when you got to his house.
Oh, crap. I really don't remember that day very much at all anymore. I probably should have written it down or something, but I think we just got to his house, and we wanted to go paintballing him, but because the gun that I had I'd gotten it from my friend. It didn't work all that well, and I was going to try to see if I could get it to shoot right. And so we were hanging out at his house, and ended up going out there, and we're out there for a while, and came back. And
what do you mean by going out there?
oh, we went out to behind James Orkin Middle School. There's like that big desert area, but there's a spot where there's a lot of like tables and chairs and a bunch of stuff that people brought out there specifically for paintballing. So that's where we're going out to play with the guns. But yeah, just basically trying to fix my gun the whole time. I think Christian's worked pretty well.
Were you able to use your gun at all?
Oh, yeah, I fired a few, I believe. But I mean, it kept leaking air, so it didn't last very long.
Did you guys talk to anyone? Anyone come by that you know and hey, what's going on?
Well, no, because it's kind of like back like behind the school almost. So I mean, you're not gonna like see someone driving through the.
Well, I mean, no other paintballers there.
Mm-mm.
You talked to anyone on the phone while you're out there?
I don't believe so.
So as you see, his demeanor changed. Before it went too calm, I'm just gonna keep myself, keep my composure and stay calm, not have a scratchy or a raspy voice when answering questions. To now his demeanor is he's not being forthcoming. As you see, now he is crossing his arms deliberately, as well as crossing his legs. Now, men normally don't cross their legs, right? But he's crossing his legs. This is telling me that while he's telling him his whereabouts and what he was doing that day, meeting up with Kristen to go, paintballing with their paintball aerosol guns, that is not the truth. Let's go on.
If anything, maybe my girlfriend or something, but I don't know.
I mean, would you typically have your phone with you?
Sometimes, but I mean, we were planning on doing some like, little skirmishes, just us two. So if anything, I'd probably put my phone in the car or something because I wouldn't want to get it all dirty because it's all desert.
Okay. Would you leave your phone on or off?
It's very possible I'd turn it off.
Why would you do that?
Why would I turn it off? Just because save battery. My phone, a lot of times I'll use it to, it plays MP3s, so a lot of times I'll use it to play that, so it runs down the battery fairly quickly.
Robert does a great job of sounding casual about his phone being off, as if it's an everyday occurrence for him. But when detectives asked those closest to him, they learned it was anything but. Robert's partner from January 2006 to 2015 told police that in their entire relationship, the day of Becky's murder was the only time where she was unable to get a hold of Robert for several hours. In 9 years, there was only a single 2-hour span where Robert was completely unavailable. Coincidentally, that's during the exact time when Becky, Vicky, and John were murdered, between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. At 7:13 p.m. on September 17th, Robert's phone turned off. At about the same time, Kristen's phone also went off. Records indicate that the phones either went into airplane mode or were completely turned off. Both phones turned on again at around 9:44 p.m., over 2 hours later. Where they turned off and on would prove to be one of the most damning bits of evidence in this case.
I have to agree with the video essayist because it doesn't make any sense that you turn your phone off if you're out in somewhat in the desert. And by speaking with eyewitnesses and people who know you, you've never done that before. You have always had your phone readily available or near you. You probably get back to them in 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And then it's not a coincidence that the person that you're with also turn off their phone, right? Like, I mean, I understand the whole saying that great minds think alike, but that's just too strategic, as in y'all both turn off your phones at a certain time and then turn it back on 2 hours later. So that's kind of damaging. I do agree with the video essayist.
But first, detectives have to address what exactly the plan was that fateful night.
Well, what's this deal with all this hiking business?
She had invited me to go hiking, and I had told her I would, and I didn't, I wasn't planning on going because I knew she would have kept on bugging me, so I just said I would, and then I was planning on just, canceling, last minute, and then she didn't go hiking with whatever guy she was going hiking with or whatever, that was it.
And when was this?
When was it? Wait, when was?
You're telling me about a hiking event. I'm asking you when that was.
Well, that was the thing. That was when that was the night we were supposed to go hiking, and it was supposed to be me and her and some other guy who I don't know, and that was the night that happened.
That what happened?
She was, that they were all good.
Okay. Well, tell me about this other guy.
I don't know.
So another thing that I want to point out, that he's saying that was the night that they were supposed to go hiking. So he's implying that she never made it to the meetup for them to go hiking that night, I guess after he went paintballing with Kristen. So did she ever give you an explanation as to why she couldn't meet up with you guys to go hiking? Normally, if this is something that y'all plan to do and y'all was on the phone and y'all set it up, hey, you're going to meet us at 7:00, you're going to meet us at 5 or so and so. If a person's not coming anymore because something else came up that's more important, they normally text you back saying, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. Sorry, guys, another time, right? For them to just say that she was supposed to go hiking with them, but then she never showed up. And then you're also not explaining whether or not did you call to find out if she was okay? Did you call and find out, hey, we waiting on you at the spot. Where are you? None of that has been said. So that's weird in itself as well, because that's what normal people do. You want to find out what's going on. You also want some details as into why they can't meet up with you anymore. And for him to say this happened and not, hey, we tried to reach out, we couldn't reach her. She didn't call us and say that she was not going to show up anymore. Those things is quite odd. And I wanted to mention that he went right back to, his composure of holding his wrist to keep his blood pressure down and to keep his him speaking or answering questions calm. He went right back to that again. Moa said, notice his voice is starting to crack. Yes, exactly. And that's why he went back to holding his wrists again, Moa. Making up a fake person never works. Yeah. Let's go on. Let's see, because he's now talking about this other guy that he never met that was supposed to come hiking with this group that know each other and have long history with each other. So let's see what he has to say about this individual.
I honestly can't remember whether she said he was a Marine or if I just assumed he was, because that's who she associated with a lot. I'd heard about her and one of her sisters got going and hanging out at the Marine base, 29 Palms Marine base kind of a lot, hanging out with the Marines there. So I like I said, I'm not sure if he actually was or not.
What makes you think, why would she invite you up there if she's inviting someone else that you don't know up there?
I believe that she still had feelings for me. I was the one who broke up with her, and she didn't like that. And I moved on. I had gotten my current girlfriend, and I'd moved on and everything, and I was trying to slowly kind of just shut off contact with her, but
I'm not buying that at all. Hey, how are you, Southern? How are you doing? Happy Saturday, and happy Father's Day to you. So I'm not buying his story because it doesn't make any sense. If you the one who broke up with her and you told her, you wanted to move on, two things you don't do. You don't go and hang out or go hiking with your ex-girlfriend that you know that still has feelings for you. Why would you go hiking with her and allow her to bring another guy? That does not make any sense at all. We know that men can't handle stuff like that, right? They really don't like being put in a situation like that where they see, a woman trying to triangulate them, right? Amongst each other, because normally a fight or a argument will happen, right? So there's no way that you're going to make me believe that this woman was still in love with you, wanted to go hiking and bring her new boyfriend or new guy that she's dealing with hiking just to make you jealous or angry. And then on top of that, why didn't your girlfriend go hiking with you? If that's the case, you went hiking with your ex-girlfriend. Where's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend? Why you didn't go hiking with her? You went hiking with another man. You didn't go hiking with your girlfriend, but you were willing to go hiking with your ex-girlfriend. I'm going to call bluff. I don't believe any part of this particular story at all. And I truly think that it's the opposite from what he's saying. I believe he's the one who's continued to keep contact. He's the one who's like, hey, let's hang out and so. And he's the one who probably got dumped and did not want to move on. But that's just my opinion. It's not the truth. But I'm just saying, I don't know no man who's going to be okay going hiking with his ex-girlfriend and she's there with the new guy that she's dealing with. I don't know no man who would do that. He's Delulu. Yeah, absolutely. Michelle says, I don't believe anything he says. I agree. I don't. I really don't. I'm not a man, nor I'm a no, I'm not saying you. I'm saying like your father and your loved ones, Miss Southern. Let's see. Brandon said he's just hanging himself at this point. Yes, I'm in agreement. He is, because that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Let's go on.
She still wanted to hang out with me.
Okay. So, why would she invite you up there and invite someone else that you didn't know?
I don't know.
I mean, that wouldn't impress you, would it?
It wouldn't. The only thing I could imagine would be that she'd want to make me maybe jealous or something, but I mean,
okay.
I'm only speculating. I don't know why. That was It seemed odd to me at the time, and it's kind of another reason why I didn't want to go.
Well, where does Christian fit in with this?
Christian doesn't fit in with the hiking trip.
Well, remember when Becky came over to
Yeah.
Christian's house?
Yeah, I was at Christian's house,
Right.
so I guess that'd be the only time he fits in anywhere.
Okay, so when Becky, this was the day before the murder,
When she came over,
right?
was it? I believe it was, but I wasn't sure.
Becky called you and said she was in the area and you were at Christian's house.
Yeah,
and
she
came
said
over?
that she was doing some homework or something with a friend of hers or something. She said she just wanted to stop by and say hi or something, and I'm like, well, I'm over at Christian's, and
Okay. So when she got to Christian's house and talked to you, was Christian present?
I think Christian walked out, and I think he just said hi, and I think he walked out one more time to say bye or something, but I'm not sure if he was. If he was there, I don't think he was standing there the whole time. I can't remember.
Was he involved in the hiking conversation?
No. No, there was.
Were you going to go up to Becky's house with Christian?
No, I wasn't.
Were you going to go up to Becky's at all?
Well, I wasn't going to.
It was never your intent to
It
go
was
up
never
there?
my intent to actually go hiking.
Okay. Did you lead Becky to believe that you and Christian were going to go up there together?
No. No, I don't believe so. I believe I just said I was just going to go.
Yeah. So why would other people believe that you and Christian were the ones going up there?
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess suppose it's possible that maybe he was included since he was
Hey,
there.
Cindy,
but
how are you? Happy Father's
As far as
Day
my
to you.
recollection, I thought it was just me.
Javier Garcia, Becky's best friend, told police that the night of the murder she called him and told him that Kristen and Robert were both on the way to her house. In addition, Kristen's own father mentioned in an initial interrogation that the boys planned to visit with Becky that night. Two separate people indicated that both of them had plans, not just Robert, to make the 40-minute drive to Pinyon Pines.
Earlier you mentioned something about a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, I truly believe at this point he should have just went and got a lawyer and not gone ahead with the interrogation. But we know a lot of people really think that they're smarter than the average bear, and I assume that since they was able to get away with it for, I think, a couple of years, 3 years, before they started to pick up speed about who actually could have been involved, they really thought that they can go through this interrogation unscathed, really, right? But the witnesses that they have spoken to, your own father alone, let alone, they have confirmed that they knew that you were supposed to go hiking with this woman. They knew. So you're telling the detective that you was thinking about, like, this was your thinking process. Yeah, I might go hiking, and if she wants to come, she can come. But no, you actually made plans. You made plans and you let other people know where your whereabouts was, on who you was gonna go at that particular time. So now to kind of change it, it's like it's really not doing you any justice, really. It's making you look even more suspicious. And if he was trying to play it off like he's not suspicious or he shouldn't be a suspect, that I don't know, that boat have sunk already. Just with the little bit of information that we're getting from him now. Because a lot of things don't make sense. What was the point of you telling your father that you were supposed to be linking up with her? What was the point of telling another friend that you were supposed to be linking up with her? Why would the victim, why would she tell her girlfriend that she was linking up with you to go hiking if that wasn't really set in stone? Doesn't make sense at all. Let's see. Hey, Boss Damo, how you doing? It's good to see you. Happy Father's Day. Oh, Lord. For the love of guns, how are you? Happy Father's Day. Let's go on. Let's go on. And thank you for your compliment, but that's crazy.
Yes.
What was the deal with that?
Well, Javier he called me and told me that there was a body in a wheelbarrow, and he later told me that it was her body.
Okay. Have you ever seen a wheelbarrow at her house?
I don't know, there's all sorts of tools. They had a little old tractor and things like that. I imagine there would be a wheelbarrow. But I don't believe I've personally seen it.
Okay. So if you haven't personally seen it,
Hi, Oma.
then
How you
it's fair to
doing?
say you've never touched
Happy
it.
Father's Day to you.
I wouldn't imagine, but I've played around in their garage before, just because he had a lot of power tools. I know if I've played with the different tools. Some are power tools, some are gasoline.
Right, but there's a difference between tools and a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
You know what a wheelbarrow is, right?
I know what it is, but like with the phone thing, I just assumed. I'm not gonna say I never touched it, because it's possible that I've touched it before.
How could it be possible if you never recall seeing one?
Well, I mean, things can be somewhere and you don't remember it being there.
Well, surely you remember a wheelbarrow.
Oh my goodness. Why is this guy talking? He really needs to stop. So apparently that's probably where they got some of his DNA from. A wheelbarrow, right? So he was touching it, probably rolling it around, carrying it, and it's probably in the area of the house that was burnt down with the victims in it. And how are you going to say that you don't know what a wheelbarrow is? Like, I don't know. To me, he looks like he might be in his early 30s, late 20s. I'm speculating. I don't know per se, but I'm sure you have an idea what a wheelbarrow is, right? Like you've seen it before. Like they used to have those little flashcards when you were in kindergarten to let you know what a wheelbarrow is. So for him to now say that he doesn't really know what a wheelbarrow is, but he probably could have touched it, it's just the things that he's saying. It shows that he's now trying to cover up, right? He's trying to cover up and say, well, if you did find anything, it's because of this. So you touched something that you don't know what it was, but it could be a possibility my fingerprints or my DNA is on it. But I don't really know exactly what it is. I touched a lot of stuff. That's what he's like implying. Like it's not helping him. It's not helping his situation at all because, like I said, it doesn't make sense. You know what a wheelbarrow is. You've seen it before. Right? That's why you even knew to call it a wheelbarrow. You didn't say, I was just pulling this stringy thing that had wheels on it. You didn't say that. You called it by its name. So you know exactly what it was. So now is, why was your fingerprints on it? And also you have to think about where they found the wheelbarrow if your fingerprints is on it. Why were you there if you were supposed to be hiking, if you were supposed to go paintballing with Kristen? Why, if this wheelbarrow is found in a location that you weren't supposed to be at, what happened? Those are the questions you have to ask. Let's see. I do look out for a few kids. So, okay, so there you go. That's right. No, I'm not going to say it again, Ogle. I'm not going to say it again. Listen, my accent, it be butchering words sometimes. I'm sorry about it. I'm sorry, but I try. Let's go on.
Well, I mean, I don't know what their garage looked like after the fire. It could look like, in the pictures I saw like online, it looked like that side wasn't the garage side wasn't as burnt as bad. So I don't know if the garage is okay, but if you've seen it, there's a lot of stuff in the garage. So it's kind of like my grandma's garage down here. There's a lot of things in there, and I'm sure I've touched a lot of them and couldn't recall it being there.
You know what DNA is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm talking about not DNA from years ago. I'm talking about DNA and fingerprints that are left at a crime scene.
Okay.
That's stuff that you say, hey, this is stuff that's left
Southern
now,
on a rampage
not
today.
from 6 months ago or 12 months ago and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So she died on a particular date. Okay. We processed the crime scene for evidence.
Okay.
Okay. And certain evidence was collected. Okay. And that evidence tells us certain stuff, and it even gives us time frames. Okay. So would your DNA or fingerprints indicate that you were at that house on a day?
You're asking me?
Yeah. That she died?
No, it would not be there.
Okay.
DNA on the wheelbarrow would eventually prove to be too degraded to provide any insight into the investigation. But DNA next to the wheelbarrow, well, that was a whole different story. One that Robert has no idea is about to unfold, because in all likelihood, he has no clue that anything was left behind at the scene of the crime.
Becky had feelings for you. Did you have feelings for her still?
She was a big part of my life, and, I couldn't just cut off everything, but it was, I was in the process of moving on. Definitely, there wasn't as much feelings as there was, earlier.
Okay. So say, let's take like the 7 days prior to her death.
Okay.
Because I understand, you guys broke up, like what, January of 06?
So we broke up in January, that would make sense.
Do you know when she died?
September, because the year
Do you know what
anniversary
day?
just came around. No, I don't know.
Okay. So in those 9 months, have you guys communicated, or what was the relationship in those 9 months? Specifically, say September. I'm sure February maybe you guys talked more than September, or vice versa, so tell me how that worked.
I think the time that I had spoken with her, like the night before or day before or whatever, before the murder, whatever happened.
It was a murder.
Okay, all right. Then I hadn't spoken with her in a good amount of time.
Did y'all peep that? He had a problem with calling it a murder. He was trying to minimize that this woman was unalived. But again, this is supposed to be your ex-girlfriend. This is supposed to be someone that you was close with. This is supposed to be someone that you just recently said to the detective that, you was in the process of moving on, but you couldn't really let go. So, you was just like figuring things out, but you was going to eventually cut all ties, but not just yet. But now you can't even identify that this woman was unalive. You try to minimize it. So do that sound like he's concerned? Do it sound like he's feeling, I wouldn't necessarily say heartbroken, but like really distraught that someone that he loved, someone that he was planning on having a future with, lost their life in a horrible way? It doesn't sound like that at all. It doesn't sound like it. Cindy said, well, there you have it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He's giving himself away bits by bits. And this is why the detective is continuing to keep him talking, right? Because then he's going to start to understand his psyche about especially how he feels about this girl and about this whole situation. The reason why the detectives is asking him now about his how long or what type of relationship did he have with the victim after they officially broke up in January, because she passed away in September. So you officially broke up with this woman in January. So that's how many months? So what was going on during those months until the time of her death? Was you actively still going off and on with her, like an off and on relationship? Was you just like seeing her around, or if you had like friends events or family events and your family know each other because y'all was dating each other, was you talking in that way? He wants to know, was it just like, oh, I see you around 3 months, whatever, not, or we're at a bar or something that all the locals go to, or all our friends or our mutual friends go to, I will be at that event or I'll be at that barbecue? Or was you actually in communication and talking with this woman throughout the months until her death? Because according to him, he was about to move on. She couldn't get over him and all this stuff like that. right? But he had a new girlfriend and she couldn't accept it. This was his statement. But you was really keeping up your relationship with her after you officially broken up. That is what the detective is trying to put out there, to confirm that they still had a verbal, if anything, or try to find out whether they still had a sexual relationship with each other after them officially breaking up in January. But let's go on.
Time, because I was, like I was saying, I was trying to slowly stop the communication, just kind of move on.
I don't know what you mean when for your time frame, a little amount of time.
Okay, I honestly don't remember the last time I had spoken with her before that. It was probably more than a month.
Did you talk to her on the day she died?
The day? Yes.
Okay. How many times do you think you talked to her on the day she died?
I believe once.
Okay. Did you see her that day?
No, not that day.
Okay. The day before she died, you talked to her in person at Christian's house?
Yes.
Okay. Did you? And I know you said she called on the phone before she got to Christian's house.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's 2 communications that day. Did you guys have any other conversation that day?
Wait, 2 communications that day? Wait.
She called you, said I'm in the area, and I'm gonna come by. Then she showed up at Christian's house.
Okay.
So you guys had 2 conversations.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So other than those 2 conversations, did you talk to her at any other time on that day before she died?
I don't think so. But I mean, I guess it's always possible that, it's like, oh, she called to say something real quick or something. But there shouldn't have been any other like detailed conversations.
What about that day before? 2 days before she died?
I don't believe I spoke with her.
Okay. I mean, because if you talk to her one time, you may not remember. Could be insignificant. But if you talk to her 20 times, obviously you would remember.
Okay.
So that's what I'm getting at.
I don't believe I did. I don't remember. It was, some time ago.
Okay. It's not going to serve us much purpose if we talk about things and we just get a whole bunch of I don't remembers.
Okay.
Obviously, that's why.
But then again, I don't want to say something that's clearly wrong.
Sir, if you didn't want to say anything, why are you even having the conversation? You should have just went and got your lawyer, right? The whole point is that you're trying to remove yourself from the scene of the crime. Okay? You do know that the detectives is going to go and question everyone. We know that. We study this here on this channel, and we've seen it on many other cases. They're going to go to the most immediate people, right? That would be the family members, that would be the spouse, whoever, you name it. You said that this girl is an ex-girlfriend. You dated her for 1.5 years, but you was close. You, at one point, you couldn't really let the relationship go. You had a new girlfriend, but you wanted to officially move on and just drop all communication. But it's showing that you kept up the communication, and it was somewhat like an off and on relationship with this victim, instead of you making it seem like you really cut tabs and you only saw her sporadically. That's what it's giving, right? This is what you're saying. But it doesn't make sense, because you was in enough communication with her that you was able to set up and schedule to go hiking with her, where she was supposed to bring some random guy that you don't know, you never met, to go hiking with you. Like, that means that your relationship was closer than what you actually letting the detectives believe. You was having far more communication with her than what you're making the detectives believe, how much you actually spoken to her. You was way closer than that, way closer than what you're trying to make the detectives believe. And he's seeing it, but by you continue to talk. So if you don't want to, I guess, rat yourself out, which you're pretty much that's what you're doing, you're ratting yourself out, then stop talking. Cut the interrogation short, or the interview short. Get a lawyer up, and call it a day. That's what you're supposed to do. But hey, I don't know. Let's go on.
you know. So
Sure.
I mean,
I don't want you to do that either.
I was trying to be, you know, like honest about the phone thing. I assumed he did, you know, that it just would be weird to me that he didn't have a phone, but I guess he didn't then.
Becky's friends and phone records contradict what Robert has said. Just 3 days prior to Rebecca's death, she and Robert had a 10-minute phone conversation that was initiated by him. And though he continues to paint Becky as the one who was chasing him, testimony from her surviving friends say otherwise. 2 close friends of Becky told the jury that Robert had an obsessive need to be in control of her. Shortly after their breakup, one friend recalled that Becky received 30 to 40 calls a night from Robert while the two were on vacation together.
What time were you supposed to go hiking?
We didn't have. I remember speaking with her. She just said after work, and I said, you know, after work, we gotta get, you know, take a shower and stuff like that. So it's obviously going to be sometime after that. But I don't remember if we set a specific time.
After your work or her work?
My work. I don't think she worked that day.
So, like, one of the biggest things that these type of individuals would do, they always try to demonize the person or demonize the victim, right? So always pay attention to that, right? Because in the beginning, he was saying that she couldn't get over him. He moved on, blah, blah, blah. But then you put yourself in a position where you will go hiking with your ex-girlfriend that you are trying to, you know, I guess, you know, detach from, right? Because she's being too in your business. She's being too needy. She won't let the relationship go. But you would go hiking with her new man. Obviously, if she had a new man, then she's not really worried about you in that way. Why would she be wanting to make you jealous? It doesn't really make any sense. Like it don't. And then for you to agree to put yourself in that situation. So there we start off from that point, right? But I already knew that when he was saying that it was completely the opposite. It was him. And now to get the witnesses or her friends to confirm, or them probably confirming by seeing the text messages, that he was blowing up her phone constantly. He was literally acting as if they were still in a relationship and he has access to her the way that they had when they was officially together. So now I'm starting to believe I want to know, is the new girl a fake girl? Is she a new girl of your imagination? Do she even exist at this point? Because if you're calling this woman 30 times while she's on vacation with her best friend, but this is your ex-girlfriend, I'm not going to believe that there's another lady in your life the way that you claiming. Like, you know, a lady that you're smashing is not the lady that you actually have emotional attachment with. And we can tell, and we know this going forward, about how people are operating and moving these days. So yeah, it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy right now. He really just needed to be quiet. Phone records don't lie. Exactly, Miss Jalen, it don't. Honeysuckle said guilty people always want to prove their innocence in an interrogation room. Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely not real. I don't think she's real, Miss Cindy. I really don't. I don't think she's real at all. I'm sorry. I don't believe him. I don't believe him at all. Because of, like, again, if that's the case, you would have went hiking with your girlfriend. Why would you go hiking with your ex-girlfriend? And he doesn't understand, by even saying that dynamic, that you said that you have a girlfriend, but you went hiking with your ex-girlfriend, and she supposedly was supposed to be bringing a man that you don't know, you never met. It goes to show that you had feelings there as well. You was keeping your relationship, or whatever, your prior toxic relationship, you was keeping it together. You was keeping it flourish. It wasn't her all by herself. You was a part of it, right? So he doesn't understand that lets him know that you still had just as much emotion as you are trying to make this victim believe that she had about this relationship. But let's go on. Let's go on.
Okay, so you got off work at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay. So what time would you call her in order to cancel? I mean, she would expect you at some point.
Yeah.
Daytime, nighttime?
If anything, it'd probably be a little bit later. because I don't. I think I was trying to kind of just save it for the last minute, just kind of like, oh, this something just came up real quick or something. So I believe, if anything, I would have saved it till a little bit later.
Okay. So what time do you think?
Well, we were late for church and stuff, so
I don't believe that
about 5 or
either,
6.
Cindy.
It'd
I don't believe
obviously
that it
have
was
to
another
be,
dude either.
you know,
Absolutely
after
not.
6 or something. I guess it'd be between 6 and 8 or something.
Because just think about it, right? If there was another girl, and this is the same day that it was all supposed to, another guy. Sorry, Cindy. I don't think it's another guy. I agree with you. Because if they were supposed to go hiking, right? And she supposedly was supposed to bring this new guy that he ain't never met, who supposedly is a Marine, then we would be hearing about 4 deaths instead of 3. This girl was unalived and her parents was unalived, meaning this happened when she was at her parents' house, right? Or in that area. That's where the bodies was found, right? There was no guy body was there. You really think that if she was out and about with a Marine, there's only 2 things that's going to happen, right? It's either there would be a scruffle between you gentlemen with the Marine, or there would be a 4th body that the police will have to account for. But since neither happened, when it comes down to the evidence, I don't think that there was a dude involved either. I think that he said that because he was trying to paint the narrative of her trying to make him jealous with another guy, trying to do a triangulation between these guys or have them fight among, for her in that way. That was the build up on his story. We can pull out where the fluff is being added, especially with this individual and what he's saying. His whole story doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, Moa. It really don't. Let's go on.
Okay.
But I thought 8 seems too late anyway. So I'd imagine it was before that.
Okay, well, the only thing before 8 and after 6 would be 7.
Okay, I guess that seems like a fair number that I would guesstimate.
So would it be fair to say that you would have called Becky around 7 to counsel because you would anticipate she would have been home at that time?
I'd imagine, yeah, that would seem fair.
Okay.
Absolutely,
So would there be
Turkey.
a
Yes, I agree.
Telephone record of you calling her cell phone at 7 o'clock?
There should be. Obviously you've got the records.
If the first time that you talked to Detective Michaels, do you remember talking to him in this room?
Yes.
And he was asking you about, all this stuff about Becky?
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you were going to go hiking with him, or go hiking with Becky?
Yeah, I was supposed to, yes.
Okay. But you didn't tell him that you canceled.
I thought I did.
But you didn't.
I didn't tell him that I did cancel. What did I say? That I never spoke with her, or?
No, you just didn't. You just blew her off, basically. You didn't intend to go.
Well, because I believe I remember talking about her calling, I believe she called Christian's cell phone after that because she knew I blew her off. Somehow.
Hold on, that doesn't make any sense. So you first said that she was the one who kind of, put out the idea about you guys going hiking, told everyone that she was going hiking, her friends that she was going hiking with you. Your own father knew that you was going hiking and you was going to go with her, right? But now it's being explained when you spoke to the detectives initially when this incident took place years ago. You said that you're the one who canceled the hiking event because you was just blowing her off. This is what you're telling the detectives now. So again, if you're the one who canceled the event, then why when they spoke to the eyewitnesses, they don't know nothing about you canceling the event? If the victim was willing to tell everyone that she was going out with you to go hiking, then she would have been even more willing to tell them that you cancel this SOB cancel going hiking and got me all dressed and everything to go hiking, and now he's not even answering the phone. He's not even answering my phone calls. I had to call Kristen, the guy that he's with, to see if he's with him, to tell him why he's not picking up my phone calls. She would have told her friends that. She would have told anybody who would have listened to her, right? If you brushed her off, right? You dodged her. So why is that now brand news? And then he's making it seem like that small detail that he didn't tell the detective is not crucial information, right? Because again, why would the victim leave her house to go hiking if you blew her off? Because, when you blow someone off, eventually someone is going to take the hint that you don't want to go out with them anymore, that we're not going hiking anymore. He's not answering his phone. We're not going hiking anymore. So she wouldn't continue to go out there to go hiking with you if you blew her off. That was a crucial detail right there. Crucial detail that he doesn't even understand, that he just exposed about himself. Because now, if you told the detective that you canceled it, but she was en route, they have her cell phone, or they found her cell phone, or whatever not, or who knows, her family members might have a tracking system, or they can they can look at her vehicle and see that she traveled out to the location of where y'all was supposed to go hiking at, but you canceled, right? So she shouldn't have been nowhere near the location that y'all was supposed to go hiking at, if that was the case. He really does tell a lot about himself, doesn't he? Hey, Lana, how are you doing? Good to see you. Happy Father's Day to you. Turkey said, this guy is a terrible liar, and he ain't thinking about all the factors, that's for sure, but you can't win. It's total BS. There, I agree, because he's more concerned about what seems logical, what makes sense, and what is believable. So when you're more focused on what would seem logical, reasonable, or believable, then you lose all the little other details that you need to add in there to make it stand. Because it was very easy for me to question, if you canceled or you egged her off, then what was the other steps to that? Who else knew that you was not going to go hiking with her because you canceled it? Somebody else should have known that. Why didn't your father speak up and say, yeah, he told me he was going to go hiking with the girl, but then afterwards he came home and he said, no, I didn't want to go hiking with her. She's crazy. So I just stopped answering my phone. Somebody would have been able to say that. Someone. But for the simple fact that nobody can say that, yeah, he was not answering her phone calls, so they didn't go hiking, the whole thing was canceled, that is just crazy. Turkey said, oh man, look out, they're coming for you now. Hear the sirens. Yeah. He can't remember his lies. No, I don't think he can. And he just continues to make it up as he go along. And I think this is somewhat also a benefit to the detectives, that they are now interrogating him once again, a second time, a couple of years later. Because, when the incident happened and initially they thought it could have been, someone else, or they was going down a different path, who could be possible suspects, it was easy for him to, I guess, explain his side of the story and what he did that day. And it did seem reasonable. But now actually focusing on the receipts, looking at the text messages, looking at the emails, looking at, speaking with the eyewitnesses again about what transpired throughout the day when he was supposed to meet up with her for this incident, before this incident happened, it starts to look quite different. Hello, 2024. How are you doing? Let's go on.
I believe
Why would she call Christian's cell phone?
Because if she was trying to get a hold of me, Christian would be the only other person to get to, because I'm usually...
Why would she try to get a hold of you?
Because obviously if I wasn't there, or I hadn't talked to her, what happened, then obviously she'd want to get a hold of me and find out what's going on.
But didn't you just tell me you talked to her and counseled?
I believe I did.
So why would she call Christian and try to get a
Hey
hold of
Jacob,
you?
how you doing?
Because I believe I called and
I think the
canceled, and
jury's
she
still
wasn't
out on
happy
that,
about
right?
it, so she...
Isn't it
and
like
then
day 22?
Yeah, so she called Kristen to get a hold of me, because I believe if I had stopped, talking to her, maybe she called me and I didn't pick up or something.
Right.
Okay. Alright, you wanna drink a water?
My mouth is a little bit dry, but I mean, I was just...
We're almost done.
Okay.
Yep, I agree with you.
The look that Robert is giving here is warranted, because they are not almost done, not by a long shot. When police return 15 minutes later, they have some more facts that Robert is not going to like being confronted with.
Has Christian ever shot your 2 guns?
Now, you see how they showed that little clip of him bent down after the detective went to go get some water or probably go use the restroom or so? It was like a sense of relief, as in he was tired of the questioning, but it was also a sign of despair, because now it's looking like his story is not really signing up, and he's starting to second guess his story that he led with the first time when the incident was being investigated by the detectives and the police department in this area. Hey, Brucey, how are you? How are you? It's good to see you. Good to see you. Happy Saturday and happy Father's Day to you, Brucey. It's good to see you, sir. Let's go on.
Your shotgun in your
He's never shot the shotgun. He has shot the missing nugget.
Have you shot his weapons?
I shot the shotgun one time.
When was the last time?
It was when he first got it, and that was a good deal of time ago. So I mean, I guess you'd have to. I couldn't even say when it was.
Okay. They found a holster at your house.
Yes, sir.
And whose holster is that?
That is mine, because I was hoping to get a Glock for the class, the peace officer training class.
Okay.
And I mean, I'll tell you, but if you want to verify, you can verify with my brother. I'm trying to save up money, and it's really going to be his, but I'm going to use it for the class.
What caliber are you looking at?
I was looking at the Glock 22. It's the full size 40 caliber, because it's I just heard it was just what the police officers are using now, which is a little more powerful than the 9mm, but it's I guess it's just a little more powerful than 9mm, but I don't really know much about it.
Have you ever shot a 40 caliber?
No, sir.
No, Jacob. These
Christian's
cases have
dead.
already been solved, so no,
Mhm.
there's no way that he's.
I know
pretty well.
I mean, just
But
just
yeah, you
because
have a
he's
great
my
day
friend's
too,
dad, but
Okay. I mean, he said he kind of knew you pretty well.
we watch movies and talk like that, talk things.
He was kind of under an impression that both you guys were going up there too.
You thought we were actually going to go up there?
You and Christian. Where would he get that from?
I don't know where you would get that impression.
Okay. Was there some conversation that you guys had that maybe other people thought you guys were going to do something that you didn't actually intend to do? You know, like go up there?
No, we never had the intention of actually going there.
You ever heard of like pro-life Catholic ministries?
Pro-life, against abortion. I'm not sure if that's like a specific group, but pro-life Catholic ministries.
Well, you're Catholic.
Yeah.
And they have this.
People boycott abortion and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there's this Catholic group who go around the local churches here, the Catholic churches, and they train the volunteers, about, pro-life, teenage pregnancies, things like that, maybe even assist with...
Oh, they're coming back? I'm going to have to go check that out. Thank you, Jacob.
Okay.
I mean, you have that at your church?
there's people who are involved in it. My mom is involved in a program. It's called Magnificat. I don't know what all that consists of, but
Some of this organization is probably the main, diocese in San Bernardino. Their groups probably come around, they pass out their business cards, they go to your church, Sacred Heart, You ever seen any of these business cards?
a business card. I mean, I don't know.
Well, they say pro-life ministries.
Hi,
on it.
Miss Joanne.
I
How
don't
are you?
recall,
I
but
hope
mean,
everything's
I would
well.
imagine, maybe I've seen it, but I
Are
just
you
don't
listening
recall
while you're
seeing it, but,
doing supper and dishes? No problem, man. It's
So
good
it's
to
a
see you
business
this
card. I don't know.
Saturday.
Well, it's just not a business card. You're 19 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, you go to college. You tell me that you've explored a career in law enforcement.
Well,
You've taken this
I'm
class.
taking it now, yes, sir.
Okay, so these aren't just general questions. These are things that maybe you know the answer to or you don't. Okay, so if there was a business card
For
with your fingerprint on it that said pro-life ministries, would there be a reasonable explanation for it?
it would make sense because my mom is involved in pro-life,
Okay.
things like that. So I wouldn't.
It would make sense that your mom's fingerprint.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely
but I'm
look
asking you
at it,
about your
Jacob.
fingerprint.
I've
I was
helped out
trying to
with
wait
the
until
different
they
things.
do the
I've gone
closing
and,
argument. So thank
like
you
do
for letting me
little,
know
like,
about
protest
that.
things, like go stand in front of the abortion clinics and things like that. I've passed out like flyers and stuff. I mean, if a business card was part of that, then I'm not ruling out that I wouldn't have touched it. It would
Okay.
make sense if my fingerprint would be on something like that.
Okay. Was Becky involved in that?
Pro-life? I don't believe so.
I mean, would you have conversation with her about it?
I know we've spoken about it. I don't think she's ever like done anything that involved like stuff like that. I don't remember.
So
Anything like that too.
would you give her a business card?
Maybe I would. I mean, I've got things like that. That
Robert, you telling me that you're kind of involved in it,
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't like actively.
but Becky's not. You would remember if you gave Becky a business card related to this pro-life abortion stuff. Okay.
I don't know why I necessarily. Recently?
Okay.
I don't know why I would have given her a card like that. I really don't know why I would have.
Well, I'm asking you, would you have or would you not have?
Yeah.
C says, why are they interrogating him on his belief? I don't necessarily think they're interrogating him on his belief. They probably found one of those business cards for that particular group that his mom is associated with in the possession of the unalived person. So that also is just another scenario where they can have DNA that he was recently with this woman or he was recently interacting with this woman. He's just literally filling in the little small spaces because he wants to, like if his mom is a part of this particular church and this organization that deals with pro-life situations, and they're handing out pamphlets and stuff, and he was helping her with it, then then if Becky, and I guess that's the victim's name is Becky, if she had that in her, I guess in her back pocket or something like that, that would determine whether or not how recent she was around him, because according to him, on the day of her death, they didn't link up because he canceled. He he blew her off. They were supposed to go hiking, and he said that he canceled. This is what he told the detective. So if they found any of one of those business cards that is associated with his mom's organization at the scene of the crime, you put two to two together, and what do you get? Spaghetti. That's what you get. You get spaghetti. You get spaghetti. Hey, Scribble. What's going on? I'm also still trying to piece it together. Hey, Scribble. He said, who is the guy? Oh, no. Don't worry about it, see? Don't worry about it. See, listen, you just coming in, but that's the backdrop is that his ex-girlfriend and her parents were shot to death, and arson happened at the parents' household. According to him, he was supposed to go hiking with his ex-girlfriend and his friend Kristen. Now, he told the cops that he ended up brushing her off and that he had a new girlfriend and that this woman wouldn't leave him alone or leave the relationship alone. But we all found out that that's a lie because they supposedly broke up in January and the victim died in September of that same year. So that means that he was having an off and on dealings with the victim, even though he tried to make it seem like he wasn't really dealing with her like that. He tried to make it seem like he wasn't really speaking to her. It's been like a month that he's spoken to her, like off and on, but that's not the case because she went on a vacation with her girlfriend and he was calling her phone or blowing up her phone 30 times, right? So there's a lot of things that's coming out that's letting you know that he was far more involved with this woman than he led it to believe, and that if the time frame where him and Kristen cut off their phone is around the same time that the victim and the other victims lost their lives, then this is why he is in here being interrogated and that he is a suspect. Let's see. William said there's always a reason to deceive and ask particular questions, MJ. Yeah, absolutely, William. How are you? And happy Friday. Oh, no, not happy Friday. Happy Father's Day. It's Saturday. Hi, Dejana. How are you? It's good to see you. It's good to see you. I appreciate you. And happy Father's Day to you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right. So let's go on.
I'm not saying it's something I'd never do. I mean,
Well, certainly you would remember if you did.
well, I don't know why I would necessarily remember something like that. Why is that such, like, it's not like a significant event. It's just.
Well, Becky's death. Okay. Becky's
Okay,
murder
William.
is pretty
Sorry about that.
significant.
But I don't know how that makes a business card significant.
Well, a business card about, pro-life and things like that. You're involved in it. She's not.
Okay.
You would remember.
Why would
You give it to her.
Why would I remember that specifically? I mean, it's a business card.
You
so that's
remembered a
something-
lot of things that weren't significant about all this.
Like what?
All sorts of things. We've talked about things for all sorts of things that you remember, calls and conversations and places. They had no significance, but you seem to remember that.
This simple business card is one of the most pivotal pieces of evidence in the entire case. It was found mere feet from where Becky was killed behind her home. Police immediately discovered partial fingerprints on it, but fingerprint and DNA analysis had some evolution to go through before they could confidently match it to a suspect. In 2014, technology finally caught up. Kristen's fingerprints were identified on the business card. In all of Kristen's interviews, he repeatedly told law enforcement that he had never been to Becky's home. So how did his fingerprints get on a business card 40 minutes away, high in the mountains, at the scene of a violent crime?
Am I a suspect? Would you consider me a suspect in the murder?
Yes.
Why was it that Christian's dad was told that, like,
We're not.
See, that's why I said that he was harping on the business card. I knew that the business card had to be found, the location of where the deaths took place, and that they had DNA. They had DNA or his DNA on it. It just makes sense. So then again, now you can't even explain. So like you said, you never been to her parents' home. Not even when you were dating, you never been to her parents' home. But your business card is there, and on top of that, your DNA is all over the business card. Now I know some people will say, well, of course his DNA would be on, be on a business card if he handed it to her, duh, right? And if she had it in her pocket, but then now you have to ask, okay, that is plausible. When did he give her the business card? This is why he was asking him those questions. if you know, did you give Becky the business card? Did you ever give Becky the business card to support your mom's organization and what she's out here doing? He didn't know. He didn't want to tell when he gave it to her because he was worried about the timelines, right? So when you're doing too much, this is what happens. When you do too much, you give out too much information. And he's doing too much. He's doing so much to try to cover his tracks that he's giving out far more information than he actually thought that he was going to give. Now they have the question, when did you give her the business card? Oh, I don't know the dates. I don't know the dates. I don't know the date. Okay, I guarantee you, if you gave her the business card 3 weeks ago, she's not walking around with the business card in her jeans or in her purse. She's not. She's not. She eventually is going to take that out. So how long was it that she had the business card? And then again, why was the business card found at her parents' house? You said that she was never there. I also think there was no DNA of Becky on the business card either. And that's why they said that the business card was a key item of evidence in this case, because if her DNA is not on that business card, that means you never handed her that business card. That means that you had your mother's business cards in your pocket while you was doing the dirty deed, and one of them fell and got scorched a little bit because you remember you committed arson to cover up the crime, right? So that's why I think that business card is such a big item of evidence about his involvement. Because if her DNA is on it, then okay, how do you explain her DNA not being on the card, your DNA being on the card, but also that card being in the location that you said that you never visited before? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. Bruce said it wouldn't be there if he wasn't there. Right, exactly. Scribble said it sounds like he's saying he touched his monster cars and then the mom gave it to her. That, like, something like that. Something like that. You said monsters. Oversharing. Yeah, I agree. Extra info to make him seem innocent. Yeah. And thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Mo. I appreciate it. Started the fire with the card. Yes, I do agree with that, Cindy. I think so too. I think he definitely used his mom's cards to help, pick up the fire in that situation. But like I said, even he couldn't even confirm whether or not if he gave a card to Becky. So that means he doesn't know. That means you didn't. You did not give a card to Becky. And this is why it was perfect when the detective said, well, you knew so much about all this other significant things down to certain conversations and you telling someone or telling your father that you canceled hiking because you just brushed her off and stuff. You remember all these other details, but you don't know if or when you gave your ex-girlfriend a pamphlet of your mom's organization that you was helping to support. And he didn't probably, the thing about it is, he probably didn't think about it either. I don't think he left the card on purpose. I think that he was doing whatever he was doing out there and the card slipped out. The card slipped out, because most people carry like 50 of them, 50 or 100 cards with them. So if they're walking around, they go to grocery store, gas station, you name it, they could just hand it out, right? So he didn't even know that he probably had the cards with him at one point. But you left that evidence. You left that evidence there. And like I said, the detective would have let us know if Becky's DNA was on the card. I don't think Becky's DNA was on the card because you ain't never give her one of those pamphlets or business cards. You never gave it to her personally. It just fell out. Hey King, how are you doing? Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Good to thank you. Thank you, Brucey. Yeah. Let's go on. Let's go on.
We're not
We-
talking
we
about
were-
Christian.
I
We're not
didn't
talking about
say
Christian's dad.
I didn't say
We're talking
Christian.
about Robert Pap.
Okay, it's Pape, but I feel this conversation is just moving towards a hostile tone, and I don't appreciate being taken from my house when I would have voluntarily given up my fingerprints and my DNA cheek sample or whatever, and I missed an interview. I would have a job now. I have no income right now. I mean, of course, it's not so much of a big deal since I'm living with my mom, but I just feel that it was a little unnecessary.
I thought Becky Friedley's tragic death was significant in your life.
That was significant. Well, it is significant. What says that that's not significant?
You just
I
you just turned the page and thought some other things in life were significant. Why Christian's dad said this? Who cares about what he said? Let's talk about Robert.
because someone he spoke with said that Christian and I weren't suspects. But it seems pretty obvious we are.
When was that?
You can ask him. I don't remember exactly when it was, but
Well,
someone had.
He's not here, so I'm asking you, when was that?
This guy is dumb. Listen, if you think you're that smart, please just stop the interview and call it a day, because you continuing to talk is just making yourself worse. You sit up there, you try to throw Christian in it. You're trying to say, oh, they spoke to somebody and they said that we weren't suspects. Why do you think that the detectives want to know that? Is that supposed to convince the detective? Oh, well, because a conversation was had, in private about you guys not being suspect. Let me, not ask the hard questions. Let me give you a break. Let me give you grace because somebody said that y'all are not suspects to the situation. What was the whole point of even saying that? And that triggered the detective once again because it shows that you're looking for anything else to throw the heat off you, right? Now all of a sudden this imaginary person said that y'all ain't suspects. So now when he asks you, okay, well, who told you that? Who told you that and when? Oh, I don't know who said it, and I don't know when it was said, but it was said. And see, that is a thing where people who are narcissists, they throw things out in the air and they want it to stick. They do their best to make it stick, right? Because they want you to go after the red herring. They don't want you to actually look at the truth. They don't want you to start dissecting things. What do some random person that you don't know, who don't have nothing to do with this case, saying that you and Kristen are not suspects? Why? What do you think that have anything to do with anything about this man, this detective doing his job and asking you the right questions that need to be asked? You should have just be quiet at this time. Just shut up. Let's see. Bruce says, trying to blame the detectives. If you didn't do, they came to you. Right. Oh, hey, Sharon. How are you? It's good to see you, bro. It's good to see you. Shout out to you, dear. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat, bro. I truly, truly appreciate you. How are you? I miss you. When you gonna come back online? I miss you. Like, I don't even get to see my Sharon in the morning and nothing anymore. I'd be upset. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, you help me get through my workouts in the morning. Come on, man. It's good to see you, bro. It's good to see you. Shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much. Cindy said, if they're asking the questions, they know the answers. Right, exactly. It's just Southern. I miss my Sharon. You gotta come back, bro. You gotta come back on some real stuff. That's gonna be a side conversation. I'll hit you back up with that. Let's go on.
Today? Yesterday?
It was maybe about 4 months ago.
Okay, well, things have changed in 4 months.
Have they changed that much? They've really focused on.
Were the police in your house 4 months ago?
They weren't, but I don't know what.
Were you taken from your house 4 months ago?
I wasn't taken from my house.
Okay, so would you say things have changed in 4 months?
That's what I'd like to know. I'd like to know what has changed, and I had asked that, and I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, I'm a person who collects information, I'm not in the business of giving information. Things have changed and things constantly will move forward. Okay?
And while
I'm giving you an opportunity to show your truthfulness to me. Okay? And if you want to take a polygraph test and pass the polygraph test, then that will show your truthfulness.
Really? Okay. Well, the other thing is, if you look at the other side of the coin, when you, consider that, an attorney's only goal is to be like defending and making money. Well, obviously, isn't that saying that your only goal is to try to like make someone look guilty so that, maybe you can...
My only goal is to find the truth. The facts. Okay? I get paid the same whether crime gets...
Yeah, he's too worried about looking bad and stuff like that. Like, now his mask is coming off. His mask is coming off now. You could tell he's nervous now because now he's more worried about him looking bad, or now he's trying, depending on the detectives, that they're trying to, throw him under the bus and stuff. And the detectives have to explain to him, listen, at the end of the day, I get paid whether or not, if I get all the evidence, if I don't get all the evidence, I still get paid. But technically, I really want to know what's going on, and I really want to know the truth about what happened, and I want to do my job. But don't make it seem like I'm personally attacking you. I'm not personally attacking you. I'm reading the evidence. I'm listening to what you're saying. And when things don't add up and things don't make sense, most likely it's not true. Most likely you're hiding, very important information, things that will really, crack the case and put everything together. You're the one who's making yourself look suspicious. You're the one who's making yourself more of a suspect because you're doing everything in your powers for everything to make it for everything to seem innocent and reasonable, and everybody would do it, or anybody would do it. You're doing too much. You're doing too much, and this is why I said that you should have just stayed quiet. But like I do believe the reason why he took this route and he continued to have the conversation is because he was able to live his regular life, living with his mom, not having a job, and not being held accountable for the situation for almost 2 to 3 years. So he thinks, listen, we got everything figured out. We knew how to crack the code. We was able to get away with this. He even explained to him that he's thinking about going into law enforcement, and he was taking courses into things about law enforcement, I should say. So you've been sitting up here, you've been studying and everything like that to know certain things and what you need to do and stuff like that, even with tactics, right? And I'll tell you, just because you know tactics or you understand tactics doesn't mean that you can imply or you know how to apply the counteract tactics for them, right? Because people change, or people are react differently when they're in the mix of things, right? Talking about a subject and outlining the tactics is completely different than applying them, right? Applying what you know about it to help you and benefit you. So he could do all the studying that he want on law enforcement and the tactics that happen in interrogation and stuff like that, but unless you are having more experience about how you apply the counteract of those tactics, we're still going to come to this. And this is why I believe that you shouldn't go into these interrogations acting like you know everything and that you have everything figured out. You watch CSI on TV, you watch all the Law and Orders from back today until now. I think Law and Order is like one of the oldest running channels. Sitcoms going forward, episodes going forward. But just because you watch that 60 minutes and stuff like that doesn't mean that you know everything inside and out. And it also doesn't mean that you will know how to get around that. Doesn't mean it. Doesn't mean it at all. Cindy says he'll be sleeping in cell tonight. Oh, thank you, Brucey. I truly appreciate you. I truly appreciate you. Yeah, you know how everybody get on me about my accent, but it is what it is. Other people have other words that they can't say properly. That I don't go around, telling them that. Healing nicely. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I hope your ankle is healing nicely, Brucey. I forgot to ask you about that. There's always a counter tactics. You're right, exactly, Moa. TV show. Thank you, Southern. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to say. Yeah, Law and Order been around for 24 years. Exactly. It's been around for a very, very long time. And it's still going. It reminds me, and this is for my old folks, it reminds me of One Life to Live, which I still watch, and General Hospital, which I still watch. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Let's go on.
It solved or doesn't get solved?
The point I'm making is it just seems like it's moving towards more of a hostile tone. And I just feel like I would feel more comfortable seeking some sort of legal advice.
You can do whatever you want, Robert.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, then that's what I'm saying that I want to do.
Okay. And you'll be able to, you can do that.
At this moment, Robert doesn't seem to realize how in limbo his life really is, because police have more records and evidence that they've yet to disclose.
So your service is with Verizon.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And every time you make a cell phone call, it is
Documented. Okay.
And you know what a cell tower is?
Yes, I know what a tower is. Yeah.
Okay. A tower.
You leave me alone about my General Hospital, Miss Jalen. All right. I love Todd. I love Todd.
So
Me and
based
Todd.
on the triangulations
Love
of the
Todd.
cell tower
General Hospital. Leave me alone.
and your phone call history, I can tell you where you were at when you made certain phone calls.
Okay, and like I said,
One thing we need an explanation for
Yes, it's still on
is
Southern.
where you were at when you made a particular phone call, because it's not jiving with your story.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm not sure why it wouldn't jive with my story.
It wouldn't if it wasn't the truth.
Okay.
Okay? Remember, the truth doesn't change.
Okay, and I'm telling you what I remember.
Okay. Unfortunately, what you remember and what happened is two different things.
Okay.
Okay? So we need to get rid of what you remember and find the truth.
Okay. But
Okay?
you can't just get rid of what you remember if that's what you remember. Because
Well,
aside from what you remember,
you know.
there's nothing really. Because if you don't remember it.
Well, the truth is always there. And for some reason, people
Right.
always kind of come back and
His
remember
phone
the
was
truth.
well.
You can remember
Technically, here's the thing.
insignificant things in your life, right? All the time you
Let's see. So Brucey, you would be correct. His phone probably bounced off the tower after they committed the murder because they had already pinged their phones, him and Christian's phone, and they put their phone. Well, I say they cut their phones off for 2 hours from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Their phones was off. Then they cut their phones back on at 9. So from 9 and going forward, they can show where that phone location was leaving from, what area he was from. So again, he lives, or his mom's house is 45 minutes away from Becky's parents' house. You know, the area that he said that he never went. He never went to their residence. So if his phone is found anywhere near that evidence, it's a wrap. It's going to be completely a wrap for him, Brucey. Ms. Jalen said, objection. Todd should be collecting. You leave Todd alone. He's doing his thing. He's still up in there. He got the sugar gang going on and everything like that. He's been on that show since the beginning of the show. So leave him alone. He's doing his thing. He's one of those originals, right? He's the original. He can't go nowhere. Leave Todd alone. Hey, Jay, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. He's screwed. Yes. Let's go on.
remember things that are insignificant.
Okay. Certain things, but that's why I call it insignificant, because a lot of times you don't remember.
Well, no. Okay. Now we have a significant day. Robert is at the police station.
Okay.
Okay? Is our prime suspect for this murder. And this isn't the time to can't recall an insignificant fact. Okay? You need to think down deep inside you and start recalling some significant facts.
Okay.
Okay.
I
I need
told
an
you.
explanation on some of these places you were at. Maybe there's a reasonable explanation. Okay? But until I hear it, okay, there ain't no explanation. If you want to make it reasonable, I'm all ears.
Okay. But that's as I remember.
No? Don't you think you and Christian would remember the same events?
I'd imagine we would.
Okay.
But then again, I'd imagine he'd remember the locations of where exactly we went better than I would, since
Why
he was
would he?
driving.
Why?
Because he was driving and I wasn't looking at the road.
What were you looking at?
I was looking at my phone.
Okay. For 20 minutes?
I don't remember. Like,
So, you know where Monterey is?
yes, I know where Monterey is.
Okay. You know Monterey south of 111? Where does that road go?
That goes up to Rebecca's house.
Okay. Were you at any
I
time
always
on
come back
Monterey
to the
south of Highway
selective
111?
memory.
I suppose the only way is
Always
if we
happens,
turn around.
never fails at all.
Well, why would you turn around there? You have no idea where you turned around.
I do. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's possible that we turn around there. I didn't say that we did.
So with that in mind, you really have no idea how far you got.
I don't know. Like I had said.
Okay. But the cell phone towers know.
Okay.
Okay. So with that in mind, your story needs to fit the cell phone records.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's say I turned around there. I'm not gonna, just because that's what the records say doesn't mean that I'm gonna say that I remember it.
Of course.
Okay. But what if I turned around there?
Not him going with the what if, the shoulda, couldas, and so what if I probably went that area and then I hurry up and turn back. Sir, what was you even doing in that area? That's the question that really everyone wants to know. You're not with this girl, you're not in a relationship with this girl, you never been to her parents' home. Why would you be turning around anywhere near that area? So now you want to do the what ifs, the what if this, and it's possible. It's possible that I could have went to that area, but I wasn't really paying attention because I was on my phone while Christian is driving for 20 minutes, and I wasn't looking at the surroundings. I didn't know what was going on. I was just looking at my phone. I wasn't looking at the road or seeing if we're in the correct area to go paintballing or hiking. No, like. I'm just not understanding it. It's just driving me insane. It's kind of giving me a headache, but I'm rocking out with them. So it's just like, why does his voice sound so familiar? Have you heard of this case before, Scribble? Moa said he is a effing it. Yes. Southern said, I said he did it because he has on a thong, flip flops, only. No! What? Not Southern. Hey, Southern, go in the corner. Go in the corner, Southern. You were in timeout for that one. Really? Not you doing a collective. Listen, if he got on thong sandals, you a psychopath on real because them shits hurt. Oh my goodness. Turkey says, well, what if I actually killed her? This guy, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he just saying, oh, well, what if I possibly passed by the area, but then I turned around? You wasn't even supposed to be nowhere near the area. You don't just randomly just pop by, or your car, your cell phone is randomly on your ex-girlfriend's parents' land by accident. That is not a coincidence, especially when you live 45 minutes away. You're almost an hour away. There's no coincidence about you randomly plopping on your ex-girlfriend's parents' land when you had to drive an hour to get there. You knew exactly where you was going. You had Google. You had Google Maps. You was getting directions. You knew exactly where you was going. You're not making no crazy oopsie mistake like that. Like, come on now. Come on. Come on. No, he sounds like an actor we all know. Ooh. Southern said them shoes be hurting so bad. You know, they really do, though. They do. They're so cute, but they really do hurt right between the toe and the other foot, like the big toe and yeah, I'm not a fan of them. I'm really not. Hey, how you doing, Sexy Red? It's good to see you, darling. Good to see you. Shout out to you. Shout out to you, darling. Thank you so much for coming to visit me. I appreciate you, Poopski. Looking all good and everything. You gonna go live? I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna come and I'm gonna join your panel and we're gonna talk. We're gonna chat tonight. You gonna go live later on again? Thank you, Miss Jalen, for dropping down her channel. And can you drop down Sharon's channel too? I know he ain't he haven't been live lately, but we about to get our brother back on the scene. We're gonna get him back on the scene. We hear he has to come back. He don't call it a comeback like LL Cool J, but he gotta come back, He really do. Hi, Carla. How are you? I hope everything is going well with you, dear. Happy Father's Day to the lovely men that's in your life. Happy Father's Day. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know no dudes that be turkey. Not you too, Turkey. Come on. Not you too. Dang, I was trying to give them some slack. Come on now. Scribble said, I wear socks with my Birkenstocks, so I don't say a word. I hear it. Okay, Scribble. I see you. All right. I see you now. Yeah, I miss him. He was just here. He just stopped by and came in support. So shout out to him as well. He just came by. He did a little sneak in, say hi, and then he disappeared. But I loved it. I love it because I miss him. All right, so let's go on. Let's finish this up.
We're driving down 111.
Well, turning around there doesn't answer the question anyways.
I don't know. We were in the right lane, and he, couldn't get into the left lane quickly enough.
That still doesn't answer the question because I just said that. That's not the facts.
What do you mean? Because you just said that.
I'm just giving you an example.
I'm giving you an example.
Okay. If you turn around at 111 in Monterey, it still doesn't jive with the cell phone records.
Okay, like I was saying.
The cell phone records aren't at 111 in Monterey, they're somewhere else.
Okay, I don't know where they are, but I'm telling you what I remember.
The only way to unlink yourself is to show me that you're not involved.
Okay, I don't know how to show you that I wasn't.
I'll tell you, okay? You contact me when you want to take a polygraph test. And you pass the polygraph, and then that will show me.
So if I pass a polygraph test, I will no longer be linked
ex-girlfriend and her
parents. You will not be a suspect.
That's not exactly how it works, and if he did fail his polygraph test, it wouldn't be admissible in court. However, the detective already has evidence under his belt pointing to the fact that Robert is lying through his teeth. Just before both Robert and Kristen's phones shut off, they pinged off a tower alongside a remote highway, Highway 74, or if you're in California, the 74. With Robert's retelling of events and the timeline, there is no logical reason why their phones would ping off the only road leading to Becky's home, just an hour shy of her murder. But police have a good idea where Kristen and Robert were heading, and they're eager to get more admissible evidence to prove it.
Yeah, I gotta take your picture, so if you can stand right here.
Yes, he is.
Hey, what?
That's kind of crazy though, if you really think about it. Because what type of area they're in Los Angeles, there's only one route to her parents' house. There's no other way to get to her parents' residence. And none of that, he didn't think about none of that. So you're not even, you should have had no reason even being on Route 77. There wasn't no store that you was trying to go to that's off of Route 77. There's nobody else's home that you will be visiting off of Route 77. When the only person you know that possibly live on Route 77 is Becky's parents' home, and or where Becky lives at, or and her parents live at. Like, and you didn't even think about that at all. You didn't think about it. You're in that they live like in the outskirts of LA. They're not in the city. You're going to have one route to get there. That is a telltale sign that if they ping your phone there, you was going deliberately to where they live at. Like, come on. So like, I don't know. All this whole I don't know why he even went ahead with the interview or the interrogation. I don't know why, because I think if he would have got a lawyer, if him and Kristen would have got a lawyer, they would have probably been able to beat it like how they beat it the first time a couple years ago. But because he sat down there and he let his ego get the best of him, he's definitely going to do the time for the crime that he committed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Miss Jalen said, and his phone pinged off the same time. Yes, see? Like, exactly. Hi, Sean. How are you? It's good to see you, sir. Happy Father's Day to you. Thank you for coming by. Let's finish this out. Let's see what he says.
What is the deal with that bag of ammunition, the bullets and the casings, like 38 and 9mm?
I've got all those out from where I go shooting. I just I was just collecting them.
Where'd you get them at?
1,000 Palms, where I go shooting.
You mean you found them?
Yes.
Well, why were you collecting those?
Just a collection of just different calibers and stuff.
So my question I'm asking you is, what's your fascination with all the knives and the guns and the bullets?
That's just what I like. It just looks cool. I watch a lot of action movies and just things like that.
So even with this situation, like, it's not a crime to be interested in guns, right? We're Americans, okay? We love our guns. It is what it is, right? We move with our guns, our mullets, and all that stuff. That's what we like. That's what we do, okay? We like our guns, right? So that's not necessarily a crime. However, I like that the detectives is asking him questions about why you want to pick up and collect these different type of calibers and stuff, because then it gives an idea what type of weapons they had with them outside of the weapons that they knew that they use for those unalivings, right? Because they shot the parents, right? They shot the parents with a weapon. I think it was a pistol, or probably I know it was a pistol, but it was probably a caliber gun, or a police authorized gun that they use now, something very similar to what I use now. So they know by the casings about what weapon was being used, but that would just go to find out, why would you have live weapons with you traveling down to Right 77 when you told him earlier that you and Kristen was supposed to go paintballing with a aerosol weapon, right? That's completely different. Completely different. You shouldn't have had no live ammunition or an actual weapon with you. if you was quote unquote going paintballing. And see, this all happened the day that him and Christian was supposed to go paintballing earlier, and then they were supposed to link up with Becky and go hiking afterwards. So why did you have an actual weapon or a couple of real weapons with you if y'all was just coming from the paintball to go paintballing? You only supposed to have aerosol weapons with you, not actual weapons. Macaulay said old school cop out, blames movies and video games. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Bruce says that's like your wallet being found at Walmart and no one stole it. Why is your wallet at Walmart if you wasn't there? Well, you know what? In these day and age, Brucey, your wallet could be found anywhere. I'm gonna show you an example, right? So I was just on patrol. I was just on a patrol with a couple of cops in the city. And this random stranger, a really good stranger, came and he told one of the cops, "Hey, listen, I have this wallet. This guy came to my business and he forgot his wallet here. And I didn't know. I tried to go to his place of residence on his address of his ID card, but nobody was there and nobody was answering the phone. So he gave the wallet. He gave the wallet to the police officer. The police officer ended up calling the guy, and he was like, "Hey, did you lose a wallet?" He was like, "Yeah, I lost my wallet. I didn't know." He was like, "Well, guess what? The guy store that you went to go, to go get something, he came to us and he returned your wallet." And the guy was so like, "Oh, wow. Oh my God. I can't believe he did that. That's such a good job." He was like, "Give us 15 minutes. Give me 15 minutes and I'll be down there to pick up my wallet." And the guy came in 15 minutes and he picked up his wallet, but he was so ecstatic and thrilled that this guy could have ran off with his wallet, took his money, his credit cards and everything, but he really was a good Samaritan and he looked for the closest police so this guy can get back his wallet. So again, you'll have those situations. You can have that situation, or you can have another situation where someone take your wallet and then they want to go run it up at Walmart or Target or whatever not. So we've seen those situations happen before, where while your wallet was found at this or while your card was being used at this store that's literally 3 states away from you. We've seen that happen as well. That was a little story time, but let's go on.
You got anything to add from the things we discussed today?
No, I don't.
Do you have my number?
No, I don't. I don't have.
Yeah,
Okay, you talked this over
I
with
think
some
that's
of
a
your people.
blessing, right?
Okay. And you get back with me. Okay? What I said makes sense to you?
Yes.
You know, you want to do whatever's in your power to solve Becky's murder, exclude yourself from this whole situation. Well, you know what you can do.
Right.
And then again, maybe you just need to be truthful and let things lie where they may. Because this will never go away. Okay? And 4 months ago we were nowhere, and now 4 months ago, or 4 months now, look where we're at. You're here and the police are in your house and things ain't looking so good. Where are we gonna be in 4 weeks from now? Somewhere else? You know? Have a seat so I can arrange some transportation.
Oh, was my mom not here? Well, someone had said that she was calling, then they said that she was actually here.
I don't know, I've heard. I gotta find out. Let me find out from some people.
And my knife, too.
You what?
My knife, too, if that's
All right.
there.
Instead of his mother, he gets a surprise visit from someone else entirely, his alleged partner in crime, Kristen. At this time, the two haven't spoken to each other in several weeks, because according to Robert, Kristen disapproved of his new girlfriend and vice versa.
going on? They thought they had drugs on me. They thought they had drugs. What you guys talking about? Not a damn thing. Yeah. Well, just the usual, but apparently there's been a break in the case recently. He was telling me that I guess they found something, so they swabbed me for swabbed my cheeks for DNA and fingerprinted me. And they did the same to me.
Comedian.
How long have you been here? The clock's wrong. Yeah, I know. Been here since 10. Yeah, same here. 10:30, I guess. Where were they like keeping you normally? Like we're in that little cell thing?
Oh, okay, Scrib. I know you talking about.
Smells like piss. Dude, I almost took a piss in there. Yeah, I have to pee, yeah. So, I told him nothing.
Yeah, he's an idiot from actually talking to this guy, because they wouldn't bring this guy in if this guy wasn't supposed to help the situation for you to tell on yourself or give hints that you were hiding something, right? We know that we can tell when people are lying, but even in that, you don't really know, right? Until actual facts come out, right? It's just only speculation. So him bringing this guy or his quote unquote friend in to calm him down, to let down his guard because they have some form of relationship or friendship, that can give them things that the detective wasn't able to give him. You notice that his mannerism while speaking to this guy is completely different than his demeanor with the detective. He was doing forthcoming defensive tactics, crossing of his arms. He crossed his legs at one point. He was holding on to his wrist to maintain his vocals, to stay calm and not to sound like ratchet or raggedy. And then every single time he got heated or a question that was given to him by the detective, kind of to trigger him, he would like he's kind of started to stutter, right? So we know that he doesn't have a natural stuttering problem. So that means that he was trying to think quickly enough to respond to whatever question that was asking him, and he wanted to make sure that it's reasonable, plausible, and believable, right? So this is what that they necessarily do. In this situation right now, him speaking to this guy is not a benefit at all. The guy is here to save himself. I don't care what nobody say. He is in here to save himself. He had whatever conversation he had with them was probably on the same wavelength as what the detective said to him before he left and brought this guy in. Listen, this is not going away. So if you want to tell us the truth about what happened, here's your time to do it. But this is not going to just disappear and erase out of existence, right? We're going to deal with it. We're going to go tooth and nail and find out whatever we need to find out about this. He probably got that same speech, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to talk to him, and I'm going to see if I can make him calm, tell him to put down the walls or something like that, and see if he will, give out a little bit more information. I mean, granted, they do know that they are being recorded, but they think that saying certain things or how they say certain things, they think that that's going to protect them, and it really doesn't, right? Because these detectives are trained to read between the lines. They are trained to understand what you're putting down, even though you don't put it down in the exact words. This is their job, right? But here we go. Let's go. Let's see. Cindy said, damn, you never seen this. They are doomed, right? No, I never seen this one. I didn't. They don't see the camera. Right. He's at ease. He's comfortable. Right. You could tell. Yeah. Oh, you remember this one? Okay, good. You seen this. Yes, I am Auntie. How you doing? Happy Father's Day. Cindy said, he's done. Turn evidence on him, boy. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's why he's there. He's there. He's definitely there to cut that deal. Should have just played the awkward silence game. Yeah. Or, I don't know, get a lawyer, which we promote here all the time. Just get a lawyer. Don't even try to do it by yourself, right? Exactly. He's a plant to get info. Absolutely. Absolutely. Or get him to talk about things or the things that he said that he didn't remember. Oh, I don't remember. Let's see if he's going to talk about these things that he didn't remember when he's around his friend. Let's see. And Scribble said, I normally skip to the end when I watched on my own. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Scribble. I'm glad that you're enjoying this. Let's go on. Let's hear what he has to say. He said, so far he said, I told him nothing. So right there, that's a dead giveaway for me that you did tell him something. You told him something because you're believing that this guy knows that you said something to him. So now you want to advocate for your innocence. So when you're doing that, most likely you're guilty of what you think that someone is going to find you guilty for. But let's go on.
It's just like the same stuff. I didn't say anything different. Been here for way too long. Yeah, I'm hungry. Have you spoken with anyone? Like, where were you? Your house? Yeah. I was asleep. Woke up. Sure. Come to my house. Church boy. 10 people. I thought I hear I ran in her room, what's going on? Apparently, he kept asking me if I had touched the wheelbarrow and stuff like that. The wheelbarrow? Oh. He kept saying, it's like, oh, it's like the wheelbarrow, because, that's really from Becky. And that's what Javier told me. And I was like, oh, Javier, did you know that wheelbarrow? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I imagine he'd have a wheelbarrow. So isn't that something you remember? Like, why would I remember if you had a wheelbarrow? And he's like, yeah, so then if you don't remember, then you wouldn't have touched it, right? I'm like, well, I've been in the garage before. I can't say I've never touched the wheelbarrow. I don't physically remember every single thing I've touched in my life. Talk about this later. No, I'm just saying what I had said earlier. Yeah. Sorry. You get a Halo 3? Yeah. Beyond Legendary. So I'm beyond Heroic the first day. And then I waited a day and was just playing multiplayer. And then the third day I beat on Legendary.
Kristen's hushed conversation and topic change isn't exactly subtle. Police microphones may not be known for their amazing quality, though we promise we try to fix them, but his whispers couldn't escape them. For the next hour, the two have a meandering, nonchalant conversation about Halo, the annoyance of their arrests, and how badly they have to pee, completely avoiding any and all conversation about the night Becky and her family were murdered. From this point, the case went stale. Kristen and Robert were both released. Robert got married and had a child, and Kristen joined the military and moved states away. From the moment you've just seen on, the boys didn't speak to one another. Until the night before the interrogation you're about to see, which took place in 2012.
Obviously, we've never met. We're not the original people that you talked to
Correct, William.
Back in 2006 when all this stuff occurred. We've kind of picked that up again, all right? So those people are not a part of our unit anymore. They've gone on their way elsewhere into the department. But we have picked it up just as a fresh look at things, all right?
The new group of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed detectives read Kristen his rights, but will he prove to be as hard to crack as he was 6 years ago?
This is never going to go away, and, we could be here talking to you again, next week, next year, or somebody else takes our place. I've got retirement coming up pretty soon, and there's going to be somebody else that's going to roll in and take my position, okay? re-looking at it, and it's not gonna go away until it's dealt with, bottom line, all right?
Yeah, cold case foul, Sean. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, and, correct me if I'm wrong, but my theory is that whatever happened up there, I think you had a much lesser role in that, okay? And I firmly believe that. But I can't sit here and tell you, hey, I know what happened up there. I know everything, because that would be, you'd be calling bullshit on me, all right? And you'd be right, because I don't know. I wasn't there, all right? I only know what I know based on the evidence, the massive amount of people that I'm going to talk to, the interviews and stuff like that. So, and it leads us to, basically one conclusion, all right? And that's, a big thing that I've learned long ago is that two things, you have, when we do what we do, we have the evidence and we have the truth, okay? And what happens is if somebody lies to us, we expect that. But if somebody lies to us and tells us a story, we can compare it to the evidence and say, no, that doesn't mix. That's not right. It's not consistent. That's bullshit, okay? But when people tell us the truth, and we can take that and we put that to the evidence and like, oh, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. That is explainable. What do you think?
I know it's a lot for you to.
Yeah, just let me gather my thoughts.
Yeah, it's a lot for you to take in.
You mean a detective caller?
Well, you guys are. With respect to you guys, you guys are obviously implying that I was involved in it in some way. And that being said, and it being 6 years ago, I don't remember those dates or exactly what happened. So not to implicate myself in anything wrong, or I don't want to say word twist or anything like that, because I don't believe that you guys are here to do that to me.
Not at all.
No.
I'd feel much more comfortable with a lawyer or something like that, because like I said, 6 years is a long time for me to just start spouting off what I remember or what.
And Kristen, that's and I guess that's part of the spill that I missed. Sometimes I get carried on. Again, the last thing either one of us.
No, they didn't feel like they needed it.
Anybody, okay, whether they're guilty, not guilty, or anything, witnesses, victims, anything. The last thing I don't want anyone to do is to do that, to screw something up one way or another.
As the kids say, that's cap. The investigators leave the room to contact transportation for Kristen, and for the next hour, Kristen anxiously paces until they return with a parting gift. A gift that, unfortunately for Kristen, leaves his stomach wanting to part with his lunch.
One of the things that we want to, in my end, it's going to be maybe hard for you, maybe not, but I want to show you
the impact of
what happened to Becky. Okay, 6 years ago, that's what she looked like, and this is the house that she lived in, and her mom and her boyfriend. You want to see? You see, I will sit down.
Okay, sit down.
No.
So what's happening right now is years have went by. This guy decides to change his act and join the military, right? Unfortunately, they're expecting that now that he joined the military, he learns what commitment, duty, and definitely he's Army, so he definitely learned what commitment, duty, about your oaths and loyalty, or having integrity, which is a part of their core values, right? Sexy core values. They think that now is a good opportunity for them to approach him with the situation again, and if he's going to be a little bit more forthcoming than he was before. They're banking on it because of him now being a member of the armed forces. But the guy is, he is nervous, but he's smart too, right? Because that would be really dumb for you to be asking, 6 years has went by, and then they're asking you about a case that you don't remember, or you don't remember exactly what you told the detectives 6 years ago, and ask you the same questions all over again. And this time take the chance and the risk of you saying something completely different than what you said to the detective 6 years ago, and them, putting it together saying that you were lying to them, or that this now you're telling the truth now and you wasn't telling the truth before. Do you really want to deal with that risk? I don't think so. So even a man in uniform, I wouldn't even, first of all, number one, I don't even know why you even having this conversation with him. Bro, you were supposed to be at the JAG. You were supposed to have this, them dealing with the JAG first, because I'm thinking that since you're in uniform, you are most likely active. So that means that you have access to the JAG. So the JAG should have been notified. Your commander should have been notified. Your first sergeant should have been notified. And you should have gotten some free legal counsel from the JAG before speaking with these individuals. I'm just saying. But let's go on.
These are one of the bodies that were dug up from the remains of the house.
That's actually Becky right there.
This is Becky.
Yes, Michelle, it's the same case. It's all right if you had to step out there.
And this is Becky as well. It's hard. I mean, I know it is. She was an 18-year-old girl who didn't really deserve
Not that.
not this. I mean, not even anything close to that. She just started life, and these were her parents. Okay, and that's when we talked about how serious this is. And I think, we don't need to tell you how serious it is. What can I say? The pictures speak for themselves, She was an 18-year-old that,
Prime of her life.
yeah.
That's what we're trying to put an end to.
Yeah.
Close this out.
I mean, she did have sisters, family, friends that loved her, and we talked about that loyalty thing earlier, and there's a line you got to draw. There's a line, and again, with the respect and that you asked for an attorney, we won't get into the details.
Yes, William.
We'll let you initiate this back with us. That is, the kind of like
his
the ball
expression
was in our
completely
court,
changed
ball
after he
back in
seen
your
them bodies.
court. And
My
just
thing
what
is,
you do with that ball
was a little bit.
is up to you.
My thing is, why didn't they show them those bodies earlier? Like, why didn't show them that earlier? Show them what happened to them. Clearly, the reason why they're showing this guy it, because like me and William said, they're pricking his conscience. He has responsibility. He has service before himself, one of the core values, right? Integrity, one of the core values, right? So they're harping on that. Duty, one of the core values of the Army. They're harping on that, right? They're harping on all the things that he learned to be by becoming a service member, that he's going to stand 10 toes down on that. And who he was 6 years ago is not the man that he is today, obviously, because he put on a uniform, right? So they're thinking that maybe they can prick his emotions and and he will respond. He will respond. But I'm just wondering why did I do that earlier? And I think the reason why they probably didn't do it earlier because these are when they were younger, they were more concerned about their self, their well-being. They didn't want to get in trouble. They didn't want their parents looking at them crazy or looking at them differently. They didn't want their social environment to look at them differently, and they didn't really have nothing to lose, or because they were young, they don't really have no integrity, only to themselves, right? Where does their real loyalty lie when they're young and young adults? It's usually to their self-interest and what makes them tick and what makes them happy and stuff, not necessarily where they kind of think about others. So I think that's the reason why, because also their age at that time too, that they didn't show them those photos. But I do believe that the reason why they're showing this guy is because I do believe that they don't think that he was that involved. I think that he helped, but they don't think that he actually was the one who unalived any of these individuals. But he did help them when it came down to driving, when it came down to exposing evidence, getting rid of evidence. He was all down for that. So he understood what was happening. He knew what was going on. He drove the actual murderer to commit the crime. But did he actually do it? No. I believe that they believe that too. And that's why they feel like, the prick, start messing with his emotions. Let's see. He wasn't active when it happened. No, he wasn't active when it happened. He wasn't. But here's the thing though. This case was never closed. It wasn't closed and it wasn't sealed. He's lucky that they didn't charge them with anything prior, because if he was charged with something, he would not be standing here today in front of them wearing his uniform, right? That's one of the requirements of being in the military. You can't have no open cases on you, no open DV, no nothing on you. Everything got to be sealed. It has to be sealed, if anything. And because they didn't charge him, so he didn't have no actual record in reference to this. So he was able to join. Let's see. New evidence. That's not nice, Kevin. Was Becky the other guy? No, Becky. Yeah, exactly. Becky was the other guy's ex-girlfriend, not even his current girlfriend. She was the ex-girlfriend, according to him, that lost her life. But we're almost at the end. We're going to see him, I guess, feel disgusted about those photos, and we'll find out what their fate is afterwards.
Okay. And we'll just go ahead and do that, all right? We'll go back out here real quick and see if your ride's here. First sergeant, somebody's supposed to pick you up. Remember, we're going to be here till tomorrow. We could delay flights. We could come back within a couple hours. It's up to you. Okay. You do what you need to do. Okay. And just let's go and see this.
The photos have clearly had an effect on Kristen. 10 minutes later, he's struggling to keep it together.
Yep.
In the end, both Robert and Kristen were sentenced to life in prison for the triple homicide of Rebecca Friedley, Vicky Friedley, and John Hayward in 2018. It was an investigation that took over 10 years and has honestly left many questioning whether the two should have been found guilty or not. The jury made their decision, and we can't answer the question of what happened that night. We can, however, leave you with this single moment from Kristen's 2012 interrogation. Feel free to let us know what you think he says.
So that was a very long, very long case, but it was very interesting to watch it because we started to see two individuals who was studying crime kind of spiral out of control towards the end. And every single time they was given the grace to go live their, go live their best life and get married, join the armed forces and stuff. Every single time they let them go, the more they got comfortable with, they thought that they was going to get away with it. Until reality set in on that particular individual, and he realized that he just saw his whole life flash before his eyes. I don't even think he got sick because of actually seeing his victims in a horrible state in those photos. I think he started to, belch and almost throw up because he's like, oh my God, my whole life, my whole career, everything is out the window. Everything is out the window now. And that just got him to the point where he wanted to throw up. It's sad though. It's sad because I really still don't really understand what the motive was. What did Becky do to deserve that? What did her parents do to deserve that? Right? Like, I'm still not understanding what happened. Outside of her being his ex, outside of him being controlling, I don't really see any other reason why he would do that or commit those crimes against those people. But we all know you don't really need a motive to harm someone, right? You could just not like a person. You can just not like an idea of a person and do things like that. But very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so I do have some more. I wasn't really expecting that one to be that long, but it was very long. But I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button for me. Again, it helps the channel. It keeps me in the algorithm. Please share this out. Anyone who likes to review these cases, this is a welcoming space to review the cases with other people. I love when y'all are immersive in the chat and y'all talking amongst each other. It definitely helps with the channel. And like I said, everyone is welcome here. As long as you keep it cute, casual, and cordial and respectful, you have no problems being here. You're more than welcome. If you act up in the chat, you act up on my platform, you will be banned. We are not playing. I have given my mods full authority to ban whoever they choose to ban. They have authority to ban whoever they choose. I trust their decision-making skills. I trust them in that, and that they will make the right decision. So if you don't know how to act, you can go somewhere with that. There is no timing you out. No, we will ban you from this channel. Good riddance. That's how it goes. Okay. All right. So next case is about a Ring camera. So a Ring camera saw the moments before a killer committed his crime. It's funny because, being in the digital world with all this technology and everything has some form of computer in it, some form of cloud base in it, you name it, some form of metadata that's attached to it, associated with it, you would think that people will be, people will have the mindset that there's nothing that is not being recorded around us right now. Everything is being recorded. Everything is having someone follow it, or investigate it. You would think that people would, pay attention to that or be a little bit wise and not do it. But we seem like this is going to continue to go on. People are going to continue to act like there ain't no cameras in the streets. There's no cameras on the sidewalks. There's no cameras on people's houses. There's nothing. People are going to continue to do that. So let's take a look at it, shall we? And shout out to Miss Sexy Red with her $10 super chat. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. So much. I appreciate you, sis. She said, act right. MJ will be standing on business on God. Right? That's how the YNs say it. On God. Yes. Yes. I will be standing on business. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. And definitely no respect for me, because see me, I won't even acknowledge your respect. I'm just going to ban you from my channel. It is what it is. All right. So let me go ahead and pull this up for you guys, and then we can get going. Here we go. Yes, I got it now. I think my screen is showing. All right, here we go.
Julie Minogue was born on July the 19th, 1982 in Goshen, New York, the daughter of Gerald Minogue and Sandra Barash Doper. She had two siblings, Allison Barati Corcoran and Peter Gerald Minogue, with Julie being the youngest. She graduated from Monroe Woodbury High School and then attended Orange County Community College. With her professional life ahead of her, she moved to Milford, Connecticut, and began working as a medical assistant with the Coastal Obstetrics and Gynecology. In Julie's personal life, she was a good, caring mother to three boys, Nicholas, Sean, and Luke. For most of the boys' lives, she had been a single parent. Nicholas was the oldest at 21 and was serving in the U.S. Coast Guard. Sean, at 17, was still in high school, and the baby boy was Luke at the age of 3. Nicholas and Sean were Julie's children from a previous relationship. Luke came along after Julie had a relationship with a man named Ewan A. Dewitt of Roxbury, Connecticut, whom she'd met in 2017. A relationship that was doomed from the beginning. On November 9th, 2019, DeWitt was arrested for assaulting Julie by throwing a playpen at her head while she was holding their infant son. The charges were second-degree assault and risk of injury to an infant. Both were felonies. The 6-week-old was not harmed, but Julie sustained a concussion and required staples for the gash the playpen left on her head. DeWitt was also charged with misdemeanor third-degree criminal mischief and disorderly conduct. He destroyed Julie's phone so she couldn't call 911, and she had to flee to a neighbor's residence to make the call. DeWitt was accused of being drunk when the disturbance occurred. In the months that followed, he would...
So far, if you're not really picking up what's being put down, this potential suspect was found on a camera, a ring door camera with an axe in his hand, right? And they're saying that this is a former Marine. Now, with the possibility of PTSD, alcohol consumption, there could be some domestic violence that went left. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to review this, because when I first saw it, I was under the impression that this guy doesn't even know this woman. So I was wondering, why was he even at this woman's house? Why he was caught walking around with an axe in his hand? Was he on any form of medication? I wanted to see if they was going to bring that out about this individual. So let's go on a little bit more. Oh, look, William said he looked like a psycho already. Never heard of or known of a decent do it. Dang, Turkey! Makes me think of Jeremy Dewitt, the fake cop sex offender. Oh, yeah, I remember that. He has to see, grab a cast iron skillet lady.
Would go through alcohol treatment and a treatment program for veterans who had used violence in relationships. A protective order was also issued to DeWitt, who pleaded not guilty and was released on a $20,000 bond. Julie left DeWitt in 2021 and moved herself and the children into a condominium in Milford, Connecticut. She also filed for child support in August of 2021, and in October 2021, DeWitt was ordered to pay. Then, in December of that same year, DeWitt took Julie to court over visitation. Julie's attorney filed an objection because of the pending assault case, and there had been a new arrest in North Carolina for DeWitt. This was for allegedly assaulting a female along with emergency personnel. DeWitt had also been allegedly harassing staff at his son's daycare. Records show that an agreement was reached on supervised visitation for DeWitt. He would have visitation every other Saturday for 2 hours only, and this would be in a public place at Eisenhower Park. Sadly, in many family cases, a parent is pressured to give access to the abuser that they're afraid of, so Julie could not escape the order. "I don't feel I should be subjected to this abuse any longer," Julie wrote in a November 7th.
You know what? That happens a lot too, right? Because the courts are just going on what is on paper, right? What is on paper of the victim, what they're advocating for, what the other person is advocating for, and they're trying to do the best to, that will be for the best for the child, right? But it has always been my understanding that if you come across a situation where you're putting a parent in danger, their life in danger for the betterment or what you believe is the betterment of the child, you lost the mark, right? You lost the mark, because I don't understand how is it going to be the betterment of a child if they find out or if they witness another parent or a loved one being harmed in their presence or losing their life in their presence, or they don't have that parent anymore. I don't understand. How can you think that that's for the betterment of the child? I don't understand it. That's where they be missing the mark at. Seriously. If she has already put in a DV case, it's on record, reports of him, committing assault to her, committing assault to another woman that doesn't have anything to do with their past relationship, also verbally attacking staff and members at his children's school. If you have all that on record, this man has an anger issue. He has a problem with putting his hands on people. Why do you think it's okay to give him access to the kid? And also to potentially put that kid in danger. If he doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself with dealing with adults, what do you possibly think is going to happen if he's around a child who cannot defend himself against an adult? But a lot of times these courts, they believe that, oh, yes, this guy or this girl they might be abusive when they're in an actual relationship, but they would never harm their kids. They would never harm their, the kids that they, that they birth and gave life to. And that's not true. That's not true. There's so many people out there who will harm their kids. There's so many people out there who don't even look at their children as a part of them. They look at them as liabilities. They look at them as expenses. There's so many, quote unquote, parents who think like that about their children. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have child abuse. And there's so many different cases of child abuse. So I do hope and reconsider, the courts reconsider or start really going into details about who are they giving access to, to these children for. If you made the decision in the courts to give a particular parent custody. Do the thorough research and understand that actual dynamic of that household when they were together, and make the proper decision whether or not if it's really safe for that said individual. And this is not only just for fathers, this is for mothers too. Make the proper decision on whether or not if that individual is a benefit or a liability to the child if they stay in their life. And oh yeah, good night, Scribble. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you for stopping by. I truly appreciate you. Truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. William said, PTSD or not, with all the evidence of assault on a mother and others shouldn't be allowed near the kid. Right, exactly. Moa said, this guy looked like a timing bomb. He does, right? She states that she's in fear of her and her child's life. The system dropped the ball, letting him free. Right, I agree. They did. They really have to think about everything in totality, really. There's a lot on the line. There's actual people's lives on the line, right? My guess if it would be the military background, but it would just be an assumption. Even with the military background, that shouldn't have helped him in this situation for him to continue to have visitations with his child, because they have to have a record that this man is suffering from PTSD. They already have a record that he committed assault to other people before. So, to me, I mean, with that information alone, is this man, you got to be wary about him. If anything. We always hear about parents hurting their kids, right? Got a case in Baltimore where a mom and dad killed a... Yeah, I heard about that. I was going to review that on my next live stream. But yes, like in this situation right here, if you have all this information and this woman told you that this man had threatened numerous of times that he was going to unalive her or unalive her child, and she went to court, y'all have the police report, y'all seen the proof, y'all seen the evidence. He already created other domestic violence, I wouldn't say domestic violence, but he would have other assault cases against him with other individuals who probably can say as a witness from their own experience that he is like that, he does do things like that, and he does say things like that. With all that evidence, and for you to be like, yeah, I'm still going to give him visitation rights, and the mom, you're just going to have to suck it up, buttercup, and try to endure being around this guy for 2 hours because he needs to see his kid, that's a problem with that. I think everybody should have a problem with that. He threw a playpen while she held the baby. That's letting you know he doesn't care about hurting that baby. Right. He has a past of being violent, and leopard doesn't change his spot. Exactly, Brucey. Exactly. Oh, the Lori Vallow case. Okay, Carla. Right. Okay. I got to look into that one. Lori Vallow case. We got a case here that they thought the dad unalive his son, and it was the mother. What? Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that now.
17th affidavit, the Connecticut Post reported, I'm scared for the safety of my children and myself. Ewan has gotten himself into a lot of trouble with drugs and alcohol, and I'm scared he's going to kill me. On November the 14th of 2022, Julie told the Milford police that her ex-boyfriend, Ewan DeWitt, had violated a protective order. He had sent her over 220 harassing texts. On November the 17th, 2022, a judge granted a temporary civil restraining order against DeWitt. Then, on November the 21st of that year, the police submitted an arrest warrant application. Officer Scott Nablin of the Milford Police Department handled the paperwork for the warrant. It would go to the state attorney for the violation of the protective order. The application was denied and sent back with a request for more information, thus causing a delay in the warrant being served. Instead of more information being collected, the warrant application was not resubmitted and it was never signed. On December 1st of 2022, on a separate issue, a judge granted an extension to the restraining order from November the 14th. Then, on December 6th, 2022, at around 9 p.m., a call came in to 911 requesting immediate help at 76 Salem Walk in Milford, Connecticut. The caller was 17-year-old Sean Minogue. He had awakened to screams coming from downstairs. Sean told 911 that DeWitt, her mother's ex-boyfriend, was holding an axe and his mother was on the floor in the kitchen, covered in blood. A Ring camera provided by a neighbor shows a man walking with an axe in his hand, matching the description of DeWitt.
Ben and Jen, the victim, 40-year-old Julie Minogue, lived in those condos behind me. Police say the suspect, 42-year-old Ewan DeWitt, was somehow able to get inside her home with an axe, allegedly killing her while both of her children were inside the home.
Sean had told 911 that he had run back upstairs.
See, like that's just crazy to me. So he violated a restraining order, a PPO, and you denied it. You denied it, or you didn't bring him this. See, that's a big problem, right? That's a very big problem, because if you take the violations of the PPOs and the restraining orders seriously, when someone actually violates it, I hate to say this, but this lady would possibly be alive today. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. She probably would be alive today if you went and got and locked him up, because he wanted inside the restraining order is he was not supposed to contact her. He texted her and contacted her 200 times, right? That is a form of aggressive harassment. He's violating the PPO. You should have booked them. But see, the problem is that a lot of times they wait until something physically happens and then they want to act. And I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand why the judicial system is more of a reactive instead of proactive, because they have to give benefit of the doubt. There's been situations where you thought that this guy or this girl was a horrible person, all this evidence that made you believe, yeah, this person is not too wrapped too tight, this person is aggravatedly assaulting him, or harassing him, or whatever not. And then it turns out later on that it's not true, right? That something was fabricated, or other people wasn't involved in that. Or it was a triggering moment, or something was being instigated for that person to act in that way. And if that didn't happen, that person wouldn't act in that way. So this is why they act reactionary more so than proactive. Because proactive would have been, once he violated it, y'all should have came and scooped him up. Let's see if he would change his ways by sitting in the jail cell for a couple of days, and having to go see the judge again, and have the judge ask him, why did you violate the restraining order when you know what the restraining order was? You was in agreement with it. You was of sound mind, body, and soul when I told you what was going to go down, what was going to happen, or when you was issued it. Why did you violate it? That could have helped. She could have been alive. But because you didn't take it seriously, and when she put up the violation of the PPO, and I guess she wanted them to reinstate it again, they denied it. He thought it was like, oh, I can go ham. Oh, they're not going to do anything about it. I can go ham. I can go do whatever I want to do. And obviously, he's not a person in his right state of mind. He's not stable. He's not emotionally stable. He's not mentally stable. Nothing. And look what happened. Look what happened. Now, putting a restraining order don't have nothing. It ain't gonna help nothing now when the person who needed it is no longer here, because you didn't act when you were supposed to act. It's sad. Perhaps courts think, oh, he can't be that bad, as there are so many cases where the victims, mostly mothers, over-exaggerate their fears. That's what I was saying. There's some examples when those things do happen. So they have to give the benefit of the doubt. And just being in law itself has to be benefit of the doubt. Like, that is just literally what law is built on, is because things can be subjective, right? So you have to have the benefit of the doubt there to get to the truth. You can't just be like, oh, okay, just because this person said this, or just because this person said that, or just because this seems reasonable. And I have experience of seeing this type of behavior or seeing people do this and move like this, then this is exactly what it is. You can't just fall on that. You have to really just fall on the evidence. You have to really fall on the evidence, because outside of that, then what would be the point of even having law? What would be the point of even having law? Sean said, I don't know why the courts take women's testimonies for granted. It's just the benefit of the doubt, Sean. Restraining orders should be included in the ankle monitor. I agree. They definitely do need to do that. If it was his first offense, maybe, but it was a reoccurring problem. Yes, and that's why I agree with you about them dropping the ball, because he did this to not only her, he also did this to someone else, a complete stranger. He was out there assaulting his children's teachers that they have on record. So I don't know why they didn't think about that. They didn't take that in consideration. I don't believe a restraining order would have stopped him. He took an axe. He was saying, yeah, I mean, exactly. A restraining order is not going to help anybody who's psychotic, right? If the person is full-blown psycho and he wants to do something, he's going to go and do it regardless what the law says and what the Lord put down there and what he feels a consequence is going to come to him. He's just going to do what he want to do. Usually with those restraining orders is pretty much for people who probably still have somewhat of a conscience or still are fearful of repercussions. That's where a restraining order will work on an individual who still have those things about them. But when you're dealing with an individual, when all that shit is gone, it's not gonna do anything. It's just a paper at that point. Let's see. Oh, don't worry about that, Cindy. Look, listen, I'm already getting chewed out because of my accent. Sometimes I say ask, sometimes I say axe, and I get dragged for that all the time. What? What happened? Oh, you back, young Riaz. Good to see you. All right, let's go on. I'm sorry, guys. A little ramble. Let's go on.
Stairs, locked the door, and called for help. He then jumped out of his bedroom window to meet with the police when they arrived. When police officers entered the home, they found a large axe on top of the stove with evidence on the blade and Julie's body on the floor in a large pool of blood. She was suffering from fatal injuries, was not moving, and appeared to not be breathing. It would later be determined by the medical examiner that the cause of death was from hacking wounds and blunt impacts to the head, torso, and extremities. Authorities would rule it as a homicide. Julie's 3-year-old son was on the couch, in shock and not moving. Both sons had been witnesses to the brutal attack on their mother. Julie Minogue was just 40 years old at the time of her death. Ewan DeWitt was nowhere to be found. DeWitt fled the scene, so officers began canvassing the neighborhood and surrounding areas. Soon after, the mother of DeWitt called 911 to report that her son had called her and had admitted that he had just killed his girlfriend. Mrs. DeWitt said her son wanted to kill himself. She gave the officers his cell phone number, which they proceeded to call in an attempt to make contact with him, but he refused to talk and just hung up. It was unclear how the officers received the following information, but they headed towards a place called Dive Bar on Ocean Avenue in West Haven, where DeWitt had been spotted. The bar was less than a mile from Julie's home. Police were flagged down by two individuals who recognized DeWitt wandering around in the parking lot of the dive bar. He was last seen entering a food truck parked at a bakery on Ocean Avenue. Officers entered the truck, found DeWitt, and took him into custody. The owner of the property was shocked that DeWitt was found inside her food truck, but she was glad that he had been caught and arrested.
Had you not tell me, I would not know.
That's a terrible
unless
thing.
now I'm going to go on my cameras and see it for myself.
Louise was dumbfounded to learn last night police found accused killer Ewan DeWitt hiding in the food truck outside her bakery and restaurant.
And I mean, I don't even know what to say, but to even think that the gentleman was in the trailer, I mean, I don't know. It's very sad, very sad. Very sad that something like that has happened. I didn't even know there was a murder yesterday, and that's a tragedy. Just happy that they caught him, and I feel very bad for the family.
Ewan DeWitt, age 42, was charged with murder, violation of a protective order, violation of a restraining order, risk of injury to a child, and reckless endangerment. Here was DeWitt charged with the murder of the mother of his 3-year-old son, the same man who had previously been arrested for assaulting her, the same man recently harassing Julie, and she in turn begging for help from officials. All of this just weeks prior to her murder. The attorneys on both sides cited mental health concerns with DeWitt. His history showed that he had served in the Marine Corps from 2009 until 2013. He was a veteran, and there had been some mental health issues, possibly caused by his time in the military. During his arraignment, DeWitt gave a full admission to officers of what had occurred. At the request of DeWitt's attorney, he was placed on suicide watch while being held on a $5 million bond. Keeping the innocent safe is difficult because many offenders disregard the protective orders. No imaginary line will keep them from what they are after, regardless of the consequences to themselves.
Yep.
Things had gone terribly wrong. Officer Scott Nablin with the Milford Police Department submitted the initial warrant application on DeWitt to the Asonia Milford State's Attorney's Office. It was reviewed by a prosecutor and returned that day with a request for more information. The warrant itself was not resubmitted until December 13th, just a week after Minogue's murder. There was an investigation into the reason why this was not done as soon as possible. It is common for prosecutors to send back applications for more information. They just want a strong case, not just a probable cause. Thus, the warrant application went back to Officer Nablin to gather more information, but it was not followed through upon. The ball was dropped. The officer was put on leave while an internal investigation was done. This tragedy, this domestic violence case, questions the safeguards needed in the process of obtaining a warrant because it is often considered imminent danger. Thus, it may need to be handled quickly. After Julie's death, a different officer refiled the warrant for the arrest of DeWitt, of which he would be served additional charges for the violations in jail.
A man accused of killing his ex-girlfriend with an axe is now facing more charges involving the victim. Today, Ewan DeWitt was served with a new arrest warrant for harassment and a violation of a protective order. It stems from a complaint that Julie Minogue made to Milford police before her murder when DeWitt allegedly sent her 220 text messages. According to the warrant, which News 12 obtained, some of the text messages from Ewan DeWitt to the victim were derogatory in nature. It says some of the text messages from the victim to Ewan DeWitt indicated that the victim did not want Ewan DeWitt to text message her and to leave her alone forever. Police initially submitted an arrest warrant for DeWitt to the court last month, but it was returned to police with a request for more information. For unknown reasons, it was not resubmitted before Minogue's murder, December 6th. And this morning, DeWitt made his first in-person court appearance in the murder case. He kept his head down as he stood next to his public defender. He'll be back in court on all the charges February 3rd. A vigil in Minogue's memory on Sunday drew hundreds of people.
So just to say, like, so pretty much the officer dropped the ball. They waited on it. So when she did the correct thing, resubmitted, reapplied, they didn't put it in time. And like we said before, he would have had did this anyway. That restraining order, the paperwork, the PPO, none of that was going to stop him for taking out his vengeance or his revenge on this lady. And the revenge that, just really think about it, the revenge that he has for her is that she is not with him, and that since he is a danger to himself and everyone around him, she doesn't want him around his 3-month-old child or her other child. That's the revenge that he decided that he wanted to kill her with an axe with. So you could just definitely tell that the mindset of this individual is not well. He's not well. But even in that, that's not an excuse. And this is what is gonna play in the trial, right? For example, the prosecutors, they have to prove that it wasn't mental illness that got this guy to do what he did to his ex-girlfriend. They have to prove that he was conscious and he really deliberately wanted to unalive her in that way. And they can prove it. They can prove it with him violating the restraining order, violating the PPO, having other cases of domestic violence and assault with other individuals. All of that is going to compile up to let him know that he would have performed this type of act to anyone that he had a personal relationship with, or anyone who made him angry and he didn't get his way with them. Now, his attorney, his defense attorney, their case is pretty much PTSD. That's where they're going to have to harp on. They're going to utilize that to the best of their ability, that because of what he suffered during the time of service, he has PTSD, and that kind of triggered whatever anger management issue that he had in him, and he probably didn't get his proper medication. He probably wasn't getting the proper medical counseling that was afforded to him from the VA. That is their stance. But the question is it going to work? Some cases it's due, some cases it doesn't work. And I believe in this case it's not going to work. There's too many other instances that happened that lets you know that he had that type of bug in him where he wanted to do that. He was angry at her specifically because she had took him to court. She took him to court for child support. She took him to court for visitation rights. He was mad. He was mad about that. Let's see. Turkey said 100% could have been avoided. God should have been in jail. I agree. Oh, you back, Brucey? Turkey said that officer should have gotten charges. He directly could have prevented this. Well, I mean, they definitely had to do a thorough investigation on it, and whether or not if he's going to get discipline on it, that's up to what they do at their department. But yeah, he did definitely drop the ball. He dropped the ball. He definitely dropped the ball. He did not really necessarily take it seriously. And if you hear other people who have restraining orders and PPOs, if you hear their side of it, it's never really taken seriously. You can literally report a violation of the PPO, and unless it has nothing to do with you physically being harmed from said individual that you have a PPO from, these courts and stuff, or even the police officers, don't really necessarily take it seriously. They are more concerned about things building up so they have a strong case. So when they do want to put charges on this person, it's going to stick. But that is playing Russian roulette with people's lives. That's playing with people's lives at that point. You got to take it seriously initially. In these type of situations, the best way or the best route to go is proactive. It cannot be reactionary. Mind you, if you are proactive and you made a mistake, that person has the right to go to court and to pursue, sue, right? Sue the prosecutor, sue the individual, That's what that other process is for. So if anything was made a mistake of, they could sue for that. But you giving them that reactionary without actually really knowing them, without actually really going through the details and the evidence and stuff like that, you're going to have more cases where it's going to show out that it was correct, but now this person lose their life because of that. There's no making up once a person lose their life. I don't know, what can you say to the family? What can you say to her children besides I apologize and I'm sorry that I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't take it seriously. I left it on my desk. I moved on to a different report or a different case that I want to follow up on. That's not going to be enough. These kids are suffering. They don't got their mom with them. Moa said, yes, it's a revenge and there's no excuse to do what he did. Like, how many out there serve and veterans with mental issues never committed a violence? Yeah, absolutely, Moa. And I know plenty. And I do know a lot who do have those mental issues. What they tend to do, they tend to unalive themselves, not necessarily want to go out and unalive other people. Hey, what's up, problem child? It's good to see you. How you doing? Happy Father's Day. William said, easy to hide behind the PTSD as a reason for various crimes such as this one. I agree. I definitely agree. Bruce said, he should have been brought in for a psych evaluation and gotten the proper help. It's out there just for this reason. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I mean, I would love to hear if he did have a psych evaluation. I mean, he had to have some evaluation. If they're saying that he was suffering from PTSD, you have to speak to a doctor. A doctor has to, sign off on that, right? Even with the VA, like for you to even get compensation from the VA for suffering from PTSD, and there's different levels to it, right? Y'all know what I do. There's different levels to PTSD. If you're getting 100% PTSD, that has to be evaluated by a doctor, not only a military doctor. You have to get evaluation from an outside private practitioner. So I don't know. Hey, TM Casey, how are you doing? Happy Saturday to you and happy Father's Day. Roy said, are you interested in covering stories of serial killers? Because I know some that are very interesting to me. Yeah, sure. Drop them down in the chat. Sean said, if he texted her 220 times, how many times did he call her? I'm quite sure she didn't answer. Could have gotten her number changed also. Yeah, no, I agree. But here's the thing. She had to keep her number because the courts gave him temporary, or I guess what is it called? He had visitation rights for the 3-month-old, where he was allowed to get the 3 months go on the weekend and set up a date. So she, like I said, that was within her note. She was like, I'm tired of having to give him his visitation rights with his son. That means I have to be exposed to him for him to be around his son during his visitation rights. So she has to keep some form of connection and communication with him so he can set it up so he can have his visitation rights. And if she was to violate the visitation right, you know what he was going to do? He was going to take her to courts and say that she's not letting me see my kid. See, that was the whole point of her letter. Her letter is like, y'all putting me in danger. This man done threatened to kill me, kill his kid, kill my other child. But I will go to jail if he goes back to the courts and say that she won't allow me to see my kid. But then y'all didn't sit up there. Y'all didn't even answer her restraining order against this man. It's really sad. It's really, really sad if you really think about it. He has to be able to contact her for visitation. Yeah. Let's go on. This is so sad. So sad. Poor lady.
Including the lieutenant governor.
Clearly, we need to do more, and we need to get the community involved in trying to identify situations that are dangerous so that we can keep people safe.
Okay,
According to the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence,
you.
Minogue's death is the 11th from intimate partner violence in the state this year. Last year, there were 16.
Officer Scott Nablin of the Milford PD was placed on leave for 9 months during the internal investigation, but he eventually resigned in July of 2023 following that investigation. This would be done from the connection with his inaction on the warrant application and the subsequent death of Julie Minogue in December of 2022. Julie had gone to the police with her newest concern and had made that complaint to Officer Nablin. She told the officer that DeWitt had broken the protective order against him. She had pleaded for help, and she put her trust into the legal system's hands. 2 weeks later, Julie was murdered. Gerald Minogue says his daughter Julie did everything right in alerting the authorities and filing the proper paperwork in order to try and protect herself and her children from a dangerous situation. When I got there, they told me she was dead. Then I heard the brutal details of it, Gerald said. I can't even fathom another human being doing that to another. I mean, that's barbaric. According to the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence, Connecticut sees 14 intimate partner murders every year, but the lethality of the murders and how they are carried out have become even more extreme. Michael Rosnick, the attorney representing the Minogue family, filed a letter of intent that named the city of Milford, the police department, and Officer Nablin concerning impending litigation. The letter stated that Julie's death was preventable and the family would be seeking multiple damages. Mr. DeWitt had a long history of violent behavior against Miss Minogue and others, Resnick wrote, contending this was known or should have been known by the proposed defendants. Rosnick contends that the proposed defendants failed to take threats against Minogue's life seriously and act to protect her in a timely and appropriate fashion.
So this is just horrific. And I usually try to understand sort of both sides of the coin in these issues, but I'm really having a hard time here. He also had assault charges that were pending from 2019 from two separate incidences. The first was assaulting a female paramedic, and then the second was actually assaulting her. And those should not have still been pending. And that's what's surprising to me is I'm surprised that in 4 years, even with COVID, those charges were still pending. I think with the totality of the circumstances, the assault charges, the copious amounts of phone calls, the clear amount of stalking that he was engaging in, an arrest warrant should have been issued for him. And I do feel that the judge was in the wrong here, actually not issuing one, and her death could have been prevented because of that.
Meanwhile, DeWitt has changed his plea to not guilty on all charges. Hundreds gathered at a vigil honoring Julie Minogue, who was killed just 5 days earlier in her home. Those who knew her described her as someone who lit up a room whenever she was in the presence of others. But when she was at her brightest, she was talking about her great love, her children. She was a happy, positive force in their lives, and she was an amazing, protective, and loving mother. Julie also cared deeply for her friends, her co-workers, and her patients. She was just that type of person, and she wanted them to know that they were important and loved. The closest people to Julie knew about her ongoing domestic problems, and they had worried about her, but they had been shocked by the end result of this constant problem. They were angry at the senseless death of this woman, but they came together during the vigil to grieve and to support the family and hopefully to heal. Julie's sister had even set up a GoFundMe account for the three boys that raised over $100,000 that Sunday afternoon at the vigil. People were raw from the feelings they had after Julie's death, and they needed to turn those feelings into something positive. And they did so by turning it into a positive fight against domestic violence. That violence is not going away on its own. It affects millions of people worldwide. There needs to be an increased awareness, knowledge, and education, along with help for the victims. Over 10 million people are affected by domestic violence each year in the U.S. An average of 24 people per minute are victims of sexual assault, physical violence or stalking by an intimate partner, totaling over 12 million men and women annually. Nearly 3 in 10 women, 29%, and 1 in 10 men, 10%, have experienced sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by a partner. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men aged 18 and older have been victims of severe physical violence by an intimate partner. Julie's family has filed a lawsuit against Milford and its police department for mishandling her numerous requests for help during her time with Ewan DeWitt. Damages sought would include any medical expenses, pain and suffering, and loss of affection. Because of their failure to take the appropriate action that was needed to prevent Julie's death, Ewan DeWitt had previous charges from North Carolina in an assault on a female and the assault of Julie, yet both were still pending. If he had been served and placed behind bars, Julie might be alive today.
Everything she did for her kid. My daughter, I should say, encountered, evil, okay? A monster, as I'll call him.
DeWitt also never obeyed any of the paperwork that was filed against him regarding the protective order or the domestic violence order.
Tragedy, should ever come close to what we've encountered with my daughter.
Julie's death was preventable, and there was too much history with DeWitt for them not to see that. It's imperative for the legal system to perform their duties. The system had failed Julie Minogue miserably. Julie did what she did to keep herself and her children safe, yet she was murdered in her own home by her ex-boyfriend and the father of her youngest child. So, did the system fail her? The system, of course, isn't perfect, but the laws and legal systems that are in place do need some tweaking. Abusers will do anything to get around the laws just to get to their victim. They will take the victim to court to gain visitation or custody of the child or children, which means they only use the child to gain access to their victim.
With a legislative session on the horizon.
Yep, and that happens often. Like, they will, when a person is stuck on being petty, spiteful, and they just want to see you harmed, they want to see you uncomfortable, they want you to continue to live your life uncomfortable or looking over your shoulder, they will do things like this. They will literally try, and then they use children. It's worse when children are involved. It gets bad when children are not involved. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to underplay what happens to people who don't have children involved, right? Those situations can even be very bad, and they usually get help from the mutual friend, the family members, they'll help them like flying little monkeys. They help them for them to cause havoc and to harm you and to stalk you and to figure out what you're doing and paint narratives about you. They'll also help to put you in an isolating predicament so they can have their way with you. It's sad. It's hard when it's also with the children, right? Because the children are being used as pawns. They're being used for access, Then when you also bring in the courts into this situation, so now you have to deal about whether or not if I'm going to get in trouble for the courts because now I want to protect myself and I want to protect my kids. It's the same thing, and like I know I have to say this PSA because we have new people coming in and out. This is not only just pertaining to domestic violence or unaliving when it comes down to women, femicide. This is also with males too, right? Some men, some good fathers, they want to protect their kids from their mothers who's using their kids or violating their kids, putting their kids in hard situations, and then all the mother have to do is just say that this person is abusive or this person said this and that, and now they're in a position where they can't protect their kids anymore. And then in fact, she got the courts to put him in a position where he can't protect his kids, right? Because now since he's looked at the bad guy, he can't even protect his kids from the mother who's actually harming them. It plays out very horrible, and I hate when individuals use their children in that way. Your children are not pawns for your scheming games. They're not here to boost your ego, no matter how much you believe that you own them or there's some form of property. They're not. They're human beings, right? They're not supposed to be used in that way. They're not supposed to be used for your ploy. They're here for you to love them. They're here for you to take care of them. They're here for you to support them. They're here for you to guide them. And they're here for them to live and deal with their own experiences and pass it on. That's what they're here for. They're not just here for your fucking amusement. They're not. Let's see. Brucey says, some tweaking and needs a major overhaul. I agree. William says, system definitely failed Julie. He did. Lonely Man said, looks like a castle without gates. Yeah, that's how, in New York, there's so many castles. Y'all don't understand. That's why I tell people, if y'all haven't been to actual, like, New York State, not New York City, but New York State, Connecticut, even New Jersey, there's castles. We still have the original castles that were here. You will love to see it. They're good places to go look at. You're right. It's a beautiful building for sure. Yeah. Moa says that's unfortunate. Yeah, I agree, Moa. Children get the staff. They're stuck in the middle. Yep. So many rooms. Yep. Right, Bruce. They are used as a pawn in an adult game. I agree. MJ is very unbiased. Oh, thank you, Brucey. I do love children. That's why when I get off of here, I'm going to be with my honey bunny. You know, I got play date with my honey bunny. I was trying to get him out earlier so we can go and I wanted to take him to this like Adventureland thing so we could play laser tag. I was going to beat him anyway, but I was going to let him win. Shh, don't tell him. I was going to let him win. And we go just play with the arcades and stuff, but he didn't want to get up. I don't know. Let's finish this out. This is really sad, though. Prayers to this woman, her family, and her children.
The General Assembly's Judiciary Committee plans to tackle this and other issues, including the possible expansion of the state's GPS monitoring program for domestic violence offenders, but also the hot-button issue of bail reform.
Bail bondsmen will compete with each other. With the accused as far as how much actual cash they have to put down. So, and then they'll give them a loan for the other portion. That's just one aspect of bail reform that I think needs to be dealt with almost immediately.
While Democrat Mae Flexer told Fox 61 it's more of a communication gap issue with different agencies not being easily able to access an offender's records to inform a proper bail amount.
When either our court system or law enforcement agencies are interacting with individuals who have a history of domestic violence, they need to know about that. And that needs to be thoroughly documented on all records. That isn't the case right now.
Domestic violence service organizations, for their role, tell Fox 61 that the crime of domestic abuse can't be viewed in a silo.
A lot of the domestic violence that happens and the people that cause harm also have warrants, also have crimes outside of their domestic violence.
The GPS alert system can be used where high-risk offenders run a high probability of violating protective or restraining orders. They would be assigned a GPS monitor that would help them keep track of where the offender is. This would be for the victim, judicial, and law enforcement to know the location of an offender at any time. If the offender is coming close to violating the protective orders, action can be taken quickly. Lawyers for DeWitt are hopeful that a mental health report will keep their client in his defense. In his initial statement at the time of arrest, DeWitt had admitted his involvement in the crime, but he has since retracted that, and the state does have plenty of evidence plus his initial admission. There was also a motion approved by a judge for collecting DNA from DeWitt that could tie him to the murder of Julie Minogue as well. The prosecution is looking for DeWitt's DNA match to be found on the acts used in the murder. No further updates as of December of 2023 on the Ewan DeWitt trial have been made public at this time, though he does still remain in custody. Once a woman seeks a protective order, it becomes the deadliest time in that relationship, according to Michelle Voigt with the Violent Crime Survivors Organization. 20% of domestic violence murder victims had protective orders in place. A new legislative regulation was adopted on March the 22nd, 2023 in the National Assembly, which will introduce electronic GPS bracelets so that the perpetrators of domestic violence can be monitored. This is in the hope that it will give the victim more peace of mind, plus the abusive person can be tracked. But more needs to be done for anyone that is a victim of domestic violence. A piece of paper, for many, will not stop their abuser. Stricter laws, punishments, and safeguards need to be developed. Even those that follow the instructions of the law, as Julie did, each individual needs to create a safety plan for themselves. Do not continue to be a victim of abuse. Julie Minogue did not deserve this. No one does. But maybe her story will help open someone's eyes. May it help someone to make that tough decision. May it help to save a life. Whether the abuse is against a woman, man, child, or animal, the abuse has to stop. Don't wait. Domestic violence is never okay. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, seek help. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. Together, we can stop the cycle of violence. If you found this message helpful, share it to spread awareness and support those in need. Together, we can make a difference. If you find this video compelling, you might want to watch these other similar videos.
So that was a very touchy one, but I am in a total agreement. They have to do an overhaul of the system. Obviously, just having paperwork on file in the courts doesn't do nothing when you're dealing with a psychopath and a sociopath. That's not stopping them. If they want to inflict harm, they're going to inflict harm. The only time that works is a person who is afraid of consequences. But really, when people are in that state when all they see is red and they just want they have like a bloodthirst for hurting their significant other, right? Or their past significant other, it's not going to do anything. They don't care about the consequences of society. They don't care. They don't care. And it's sad because, the victims, they're the ones who suffer. Their family members, their loved ones, their community, their where they work at, they're the ones who suffer. This person doesn't care. This person, whoever did that, is the person who feels that he or she had the right to do or to harm that person, and however they decide to harm them, right? Because I know we look at the worst case scenario is in this example is a person losing their life. But what about the women or men who don't lose their life? What about the ones who are constantly being attacked or constantly being stalked, constantly being harassed, constantly going through a physical assault as well, right? Or just emotional assault. Even going through I'll say like a social death, right? Like they're being isolated, right? They're being talked about behind their backs and things that I saw. Like there's so many things that goes and plays out when people commit these things, and we have to take all these situations seriously, because all it's going to do, any form of abuse is going to escalate into what is the higher level of that particular abuse. So if you are going through verbal abuse, what you really think is the next step from verbal abuse? Before I even got to verbal abuse, you know what abuse that person was dealing with? Mental or emotional, Matter of fact, if I go by the steps, it was emotional. It goes by emotional, mental, verbal, and then physical. Those are literally the steps of abuse. That's how it goes. So we have to do better. We have to do better when we are put in when people are put in that situation. We do need to strengthen our safeguards. The safeguards that we have today is not enough, and it doesn't work with someone who doesn't abide by social norms, social rules, fear of consequences, or even fear of any consequence, or guilty, lack remorse. We are around so many people that's like that. So we have to come up with different safeguards. I do understand why the courts are having a hard time, and I also understand why it's taking a long time to develop what is the new steps in reference to that. Even though we have all the stats that's proven that things are escalating and going to unalivings for these situations more than ever before, right? Throughout the amount of years. I understand why, because there's a thing, like I said, the nuance. The nuance is, what if someone is painted out to be the bad guy, painted out to be the culprit, and they're not really the culprit. It's all a scam, it's all a lie from the actual culprit that's doing something, right? That the payback for that, or the retribution of that, is not going to outweigh, right? You're going to hurt someone's life. You can innocently hurt someone, an innocent person, right? They could lose their family, they could destroy their reputation, all that, and this person can be innocent throughout the end of the day. So they want to take that into consideration. Then they also want to escape the fact that they don't want too many lawsuits in reference of that either, right? So they're weighing it out. They're weighing out the option, and it's going to be a process. But the only thing that can really help is that everybody who's a part of the society, everybody who's a part of the society and who's actively trying to continue to progress the society the way that they want to see it, or the way that they want to move, y'all have to actively give your thoughts on this situation, right? You have to advocate for that. Like, hey, listen, look, I know we don't want to violate people. We don't want everybody's personal business being spread all over to the states. And we don't know necessarily if they would commit this crime again. Maybe they, like someone said, what if it's their first offense? If it's their first offense and you want to give the benefit of the doubt that maybe they learned their lesson after they had they suffered a consequence, do you really want that person to continue to suffer or have to navigate a society that will no longer give them any chances because of one situation? Do you really want that on our conscience? Do you really think that everybody in society is going to play the role where they will never make a mistake? And there is a lot of people who have never made no mistakes, follow the blueprint, follow everything, to the T, and they didn't have nothing to worry about. But then look, we have Julie here, rest in peace to the lady that we were just covering. She followed the book, and look what happened. She dealt with the ultimate sacrifice for following the book. So we got to just find balance within this shit, and it's gonna be a road, a long journey, but we got to be prepared for it. We got to be mentally, emotionally, logically, theologically ready for this, figuratively ready to tackle this type of situation. It's hurtful. It's really sad. It's really sad at the end of the day. Sean said, and it's a shame that the defense lawyers try to put the deceased person on trial like this guy. The defense attorney has to do their job. It's not necessarily, they don't pick cases because of their personal feelings. They're not supposed to be personally attached to a case. They pick cases that is good for their career. They pick cases that will give them the most money. They pick cases that are high profile, right? Because it can get their name out there. It can build up their law firm, or it can be the catapult for them to create their own law firm, like what happened with same thing that happened with Kim Kardashian's father, their actual father, right? After he did that big case, his law firm blew up. Just that one big high profile case, and that's what everybody in history know him for. So there's reasons why, defense attorneys take some of the cases that they do, and they really cannot be personal about it. Now, the ones who want to be personal about it, like, listen, I am not going to stand up and advocate for a murderer or a rapist or whatever not. I don't care how much money they're paying me. I don't care how much money I get out of this. My morals won't allow me to do it. It's going to be few in between that plays that role as a defense attorney. I'm just going to be real with you. I'm going to be real with you, right? I'm really going to be real with you. It's going to be few, far in between. So that's just how the cookie crumbles when it comes down to the law. And just a little heads up, just in case nobody know, somebody was asking me online the other day, what was the difference between a trial jury and a grand jury, right? So a trial jury is public, right? It's for the public. A lot of things that was put into discovery is present for the public to review and go over, like we look at, right? A lot of these cases that we look at on these channels are trial juries. Grand juries is private, right? A grand jury is private. This is something where only the prosecutor is speaking to the jury and is trying to get them to understand that they have plausible cause to put charges on a said individual, right? That's what a grand jury is all about. It's for the prosecutor to advocate for themselves as into why they put charges on an individual. Whereas a trial jury is on the basis of the prosecutor is working for the state to put charges on someone. However, this person can now get a defense attorney, like we've seen, get a defense attorney to advocate for their side as into why they did not do it, okay? And there's been many grand juries that has happened that when people didn't know that it was an actual grand jury, why they was like, why we ain't getting the information? Why we don't know what's going on? Or why they're telling us this information after 1 year or 2 years? That's because that was a grand jury. Example, the Eric Gardner case was a grand jury. The Mike Brown case was a grand jury. The Freddie Gray case was a grand jury. The young lady that was unalived in her house while she was playing video games with her nephew, that was grand jury. So everything was done in secret. They were not supposed to disclose all the evidence and details to the public. But later on, within a year or so, and that's another thing too with grand juries as well, they work more and longer than an actual jury for a regular trial, for a trial jury, right? That jury duty is usually what the public goes through. Grand jury, they work longer because it can actually go up to years, weeks, years, you name it. And while they're going through this, where people tend to forget, people go live their lives, go do their regular social lives and stuff like that. And then later on, 3 years later, you just now hearing, oh, well, this particular hot case that was hot for 3 years ago, the person was found not guilty, that all charges dropped, blah, blah, blah. And everybody go, oh my God, this is insane. What? That's because it was a grand jury. And that's why you didn't know what was actually going on. So that's just a little tidbit, just in case nobody wanted to know. If the person who asked me, that's the difference between a trial jury and a grand jury. A lot of these cases, a lot of hot cases that happened over the years were grand juries. And if you think I'm lying, go ahead and do your research yourself. You can literally Google it. They will give you the information. But guys, I hope you had a great time. I did not know that the first case that I went over was going to be so long, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. I will come back tomorrow. I'll come back tomorrow with the other cases, but I have held you guys for too long. We are almost at the 4-hour mark, and I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your weekend. So please just hit the like button while you're heading out. Share this out to anyone who's interested. Like I said, I will see you guys tomorrow with the other cases. I'm about to step out. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to step out and enjoy my evening. So you do too. Oh no, Brucey, I'm gonna come back tomorrow. It's been too long. I'm gonna come back tomorrow with the rest of them, Brucey. Don't worry. I'll be back tomorrow. But I appreciate every single last one of you, especially my normal people that's in the chat. Thank y'all so much for y'all being you. I truly appreciate y'all. Y'all the cats meow for me. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much. And I will see you tomorrow. And thank you so much, Carla. I appreciate you for stopping by and sitting with us today, ma'am. I thank you so much. Everyone, please be safe. Love your loved ones. Spread love is the Brooklyn way. Y'all know how we get down. And I will see you tomorrow. Talk to you later, everyone. Bye-bye.